Guy here with my friend Howard Beware.
Hey there.
And it has been a busy couple of weeks here on our respective ends of the Contra Code. We are in the process of fighting to maintain the existence of a drive-in movie theater in our hometown of Kenosha.
A fight it has been. I've been dedicating a lot of my free time to that, so kind of crazy. Been writing letters to everybody who will listen, been out protesting, been talking to news stations, talking to newspapers, just everything you kind of do. We're kind of at the 11th hour on this and really trying to save our beloved theater that's been a part of our community, a pillar of our community since 1949. And a lot of fond memories there, a lot of fond family bonding, a lot of friends, the hours and hours and hours I've spent at the drive-in theater, so.
Yeah, it's really been kind of amazing because, I mean, you still live there in town, I don't, and for me it's been really especially frustrating because I can't actually be there in person to support this place like I'd love to because, as you obviously remember, I used to live directly behind this theater. I was like a matter of yards away from this theater, so Go ahead.
How many times on sleepovers did we just decide, hey, let's run over to the drive-in, and we'd go and sit on top of the projection house and watch the movie and just...
Such good times doing that, too. I mean, that's an experience that actually a lot of people have never had is an actual drive-in theater. I mean, we're talking you actually drive your car into this place and you watch it on a big-ass screen. You have your radio that you tune to listen to the music. In the old days, they actually had radios that were attached to poles that you would hang on your car window and you'd turn them on to listen to the film.
Yeah, and in the really old days, they just had big speakers that would blare out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, and there's just so much to it. I mean, it's a huge part of our community, and it's one of the few things. There's only so many things from our past that we have here that are just like a piece of Americana that people love, and the drive-in's one of them, and it's going to be dearly missed. Unfortunately, the guy who owns the land is more, he likes money a lot more than he likes nostalgia and community and people having a place for bonding face-to-face with family, friends, and loved ones. He'd like to develop another shopping center there. Our community has several shopping centers, some of which are already being cannibalized by existing shopping centers. So we have strip malls with holes in them, and then we have newer strip malls with holes in them. And basically the guy tries to sell it as, here's tax revenue for your community if you let me build this shopping center there. It's win for everybody. Well, if you look into it a little deeper, you'll see that there is no new tax revenue going into the new community or the new shopping center because the old shopping center people were shopping at loses tax revenue. So you really kind of just balance the ledger at that point, and you end up building a whole new infrastructure, which is roads, sewage, power lines, water lines. You maintain those while you're still paying to maintain the old ones. That all goes on the hook for the taxpayers. All this at the expense so that eventually that new shopping center can cannibalize your old shopping center, which shuts down, which loses stores, which lowers its property value, which lowers the amount of property taxes it pays in to the city. And it's just a very, very short-sighted crash and burn development scheme that people like to do to make quick cash fast and then move on to their next project while the community and the taxpayers are on the hook footing the bill from then on out. So not only are we just trying to save our beloved theater, we're trying to stop the aforementioned things from happening. So that's what we've been doing.
You mentioned the crash and burn, I can't remember exactly which word you use, development, but that is entirely accurate because one of the proposed plans for the shopping center is presumed to be, in fact, I think there's a lot of evidence that suggests that they want to put a new Walmart supercenter there.
There is.
And, and the problem with that, one of many problems is the fact that we already have two existing Walmarts in that same town. Technically, this area is a village. It's like a village immediately on the outskirts of town.
Right.
Nice, quiet little suburban neighborhood. Again, that's precisely where I grew up. I spent my childhood there. Nice, quiet little place. The town of Kenosha, which is immediately adjacent to this village, it's in fact a county of Kenosha. They have two Walmarts, one of which is just an empty, desiccated husk that Walmart abandoned.
They abandoned 7-8 years ago now.
Yeah, and it's still just sitting there.
Yeah, it's not even just sitting there. It's dilapidating. There's no upkeep. There's just no upkeep at all. It's weeds growing through the parking lot. I think there was people squatting inside of it last time I heard news about it. There's just It's just this terrible hole in the middle of our city, and that's what, and here's the thing, too. I honestly don't think the guy wants a Walmart there. I think that's a ruse, actually. He is the type of guy, I've seen other business plans he's done and things he's pulled in the past. He tries to build Section 8 housing, which is subsidized living for people. And it sounds good, except what it really does is brings a lot of bad elements up from Chicago, the inner city here and there. And then, on the taxpayer's dollar again, we help subsidize that living. Bad elements move in. People are dealing drugs. Crime comes in. If you know the place that they're trying to develop this in, it's a nice rural community. And it's just, there's no need for that. So what I think he's up to is, I think he wants, everybody hates when a new Walmart comes. It's always a big thing. It's easy to get people worked up about a Walmart coming into your town. So I really think he's just trying to get people to be upset about the Walmart, so that when he then in turn goes for option B, oh, well, here's my subsidized housing, then it doesn't sound as bad. When
people say, well, hey, at least it's not Walmart.
Exactly, sure. Which quite frankly is as bad, if not worse. So it's
really tough. This whole thing is hitting us hard, as you can tell. I mean, this is not just a place that we love because it's in our city. This is a place that we have personally spent many, as you said, many hours at.
Well, not just us, our parents,
generations of
families, and just community, and it's just one of those old-fashioned safe havens where people can all gather together. And I don't know. I mean, I have friends. My one friend pointed out a good point. She has an autistic kid that it's hard to bring him to the movies because he doesn't like the atmosphere. The screen's really bright. He doesn't react well to it. When she can bring him to the drive-in in her own vehicle, he's much more comfortable. She can adjust the sound. He can get out of the car. He's not confined. And he reacts much better to it. And on top of that, once the kids fall asleep for the second feature, mom and dad have a night out for not having to pay a babysitter. It's just I don't know. It's just one of those rare, beautiful things that are just slowly dying in our country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful experience, and not only have a lot of people in this country not been able to have that experience, it's getting to the point to where less and less people will ever be able to have that experience because of shit just like this.
Exactly, and I'm not all for living in the past. I'm nostalgic, and obviously that's the reason I do shows like retro gaming, things like that. But I love new technology. I love looking ahead to the future. I can't wait, and I'm always excited to see what I will get to experience in my lifetime as we move forward with progress. However, you can't forget where you came from, and you got to have certain things from the past that inspire your future. And this is, for us in this community and a lot of the people in this community, that's the drive-in is just that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't say it better myself.
But so that's what I've been up to. And Mike, although Mike the Rat Guy is not in town here, he has been helping as much as he can, being a set of ears and eyes and as much as he can where he's at.
I've been doing my part. I hate the Facebook that you kids all use today. I went so far as to go onto that dreaded site of scum and villainy, and
Sure.
I actually went on there and I tried to advocate. I threw out some numbers and said, hey, these are the people you need to call. I called a local Kenosha historian who has a show called Remembering Kenosha, a guy by the name of Lou Regani. He put me on the show.
Remembering Kenosha.
Yes,
Tuesdays,
yes.
3 to 5.
You can reach the station at 694-1050.
Listen worldwide at WLIP.com.
There you go.
There you go, Lou.
He threw me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Lou. Now pitch our podcast on your show next episode. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, he put me on his show, and I said, man, I live out of town, but I would love to do something about this. And he said, hey, that's exactly what we need. We need people talking about this. And so, as you said, that's what we've been up to. We've been trying to do this and trying to save this place.
And unfortunately, the more you dig about the guy who owns, I'm not going to say his name, but the more you dig about the guy who owns the property, the more you realize he's like every evil property owner in every movie ever, where they try to say, like,
yes, it's like Ernest Goes to Camp. It's
or like that episode of the Cosby or of Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, where they're trying to save like the theater or something. It's like that scenario precisely. Yeah. Only I don't see like Old Man Withers coming around this time.
No magic Native American tricks will help us with this one.
Exactly. I see. I unfortunately I see our beloved theater sitting in a pile of rubble eventually, and it saddens me. So.
Well, maybe not though. I mean, let's try as best as we can.
Yeah, we are.
5 episodes from now, maybe we'll look back and we'll say, "Hey, man, we did it." You
know what? We rallied today. On the Monday, we will well, by the time we have been there, it'll have passed, so it won't be any upcoming Monday. By the time you're listening to this, on a previous Monday, we'll have met at the Village Hall. We've all said our piece, and hopefully a lot of people show up and speak their word. Right now, what we've been doing is educating people. We've been making sure that everybody in Pleasant Prairie, in fact, knows why the drive-in has not opened and knows the plan that they're trying to do. And for the most part, the people who live there don't want any of that. I've not talked to one person who's been like, dude, we should have a Walmart there. So
No.
or we should have anything there. I mean, if you're familiar with this rural community, which most of you probably are not, you know that the reason people move there in the first place is because it's out of the city. It is a rural environment. They don't want shopping centers. I mean, literally have a shopping center 5 minutes up the road if they want one. So, I mean, nobody there wants this. The reason people like where they live there is because it don't have the circus that comes with a shopping center and such. So, but that's enough. Let's move on. This is about positiveness and gaming and
Positive
gaming
positive
news.
nostalgia. Positive nostalgia, yeah.
Exactly. And I'm gonna and positiveness. I'll invent a word for it. There we go.
Positivity.
Positivityness. Uh,
Positiviteracious necessity.
Necessity. There we go. All right. So, moving forward.
Talking about, well, before we get into more nostalgia, I guess let's talk about some of the current stuff going on. Do you have any news for us today?
Do we have any news for us? Yeah, I've got a few things in the news. I saw an interesting thing where somebody has taken their Sega Dreamcast and they built an HDMI adapter for an add-on, and it seems like they're going to start marketing it from what it looks like. In recent years, the guy's been uploading a selection of videos on a YouTube displaying his efforts to bring, retro consoles up to scratch with modern standards in terms of display. So, using a custom-built FPGA and an HDMI transmitter board, this add-on for the Dreamcast, it's making it a lot easier to hook your old gaming systems up to a modern television. So, hopefully they complete it. Hopefully they find a market for it, and it'd be wonderful if they made little conversion kits you could buy for your old Dreamcast or systems, old PlayStations, old any of those old systems. It'd be fantastic to be able to just pop it into an HDMI port and be on your way. So,
yeah, that
that's
would
pretty
actually be
cool.
great. I'm a big fan of the Dreamcast. I still have mine, but it's in a box because, of course, it's impossible for me without buying extra converters and like VCRs and machines to transfer the
Dreamcast is such an overlooked, underrated system that was
very,
far ahead of its time. Oh man.
Yeah, the Dreamcast is actually, I think, probably, technically speaking, I think it goes without saying that the Genesis was, the most popular of the systems, but the Dreamcast really was. It was the first of that generation of game systems. It got the jump on the PlayStation 2, and sadly enough, the PlayStation 2 is why it failed. But I wish it hadn't, because it was a strong little system.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was a fantastic system.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Google strikes again. Play Pac-Man using your neighborhood as a maze in Google Maps. So they created an interactive version of Pac-Man. So you can actually go to Google Maps, zoom in on your neighborhood or any neighborhood that you'd like, switch it over to Pac-Man mode, and your streets basically become the avenues for your Pac-Man to go up and down and eat the Pac-Man pellets while ghosts zip back and forth around. So if you're a huge Pac-Man fan and you love perusing Google Maps and you've always wondered, hey, could I play my neighborhood as a level in Pac-Man? Well, guess what? Now you can. And fuck it, it's one of those things that's unnecessary, but pretty neat that A, somebody thought of it, and 2, somebody realized it. So, I don't know.
That's actually very cool. I think what would even be cooler, and sadly this is, I guess, not technically possible, but I think it would be really rad if they had it to where Google was live, and whenever you looked at your particular street or wherever that you wanted to play this Pac-Man overlay, it would be awesome if the people wandering about your neighborhood would in fact be like various power pellets or ghosts.
That would be
that would be pretty nifty. Yeah, you could consume your neighbor.
Sure.
That'd be pretty great. Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, and then the last bit of news I have for all of you symphony orchestra fans, for all of you retro gaming fans, and particularly all you Legend of Zelda fans. Starting on April 16th of 2015, the Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddess Tour. And that is basically a tour of a symphony orchestra that is going to be playing all of your favorite songs from the Legend of Zelda. basically, fans will relive all of their favorite moments from a fully developed and thoughtfully structured program, including memorable, beloved melodies from titles including The Ocarina of Time, The Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, and more. So, basically, a symphony orchestra is going to recreate and, arrange all of your favorite Legend of Zelda songs. And from pictures I've seen, it looks like they will have a huge TV display while the levels of those songs are being played or displayed as they go through it. So it actually sounds like a pretty awesome experience. I actually might go. It'll be around Wisconsin, I think, October 3rd. So I might go up to Milwaukee and check that out. And I recommend that you guys go on to the Legends of Zelda Symphony of Goddess website and see when they're coming by your local area and go check it out.
That's another thing that I would like to see, which I probably won't be able to based on where I'm at, but that's the kind of thing that I've always heard about and sounded good. I mean, video game music has now gotten accepted to the point to where obviously this kind of thing is happening. I mean, we grew up hearing just bleeps and bloops, coming out of our machines, but now, it's gotten to the point to where they actually put this, some of the better music as, such as the Zelda games, to symphony form. And I mean, a lot of that music is just fantastic. I know you've not gone through all the old Zelda games like I have, but you've played a couple, and
Sure.
you probably remember some of the tunes.
Oh, absolutely. Some
a lot of it's good stuff.
Music in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't have taken the time to have actual orchestras arrange their music if it wasn't awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, super cool. So that's the news for today.
All right. Well, I guess then now we're diving right back into nostalgia time. The year, obviously the game that we're playing this time is Super Street Fighter. No, I'm sorry, not Super Street Fighter.
You can see the confusion because there's 6,000 different versions of Street Fighter 2 to the point of ridiculousness.
There are, and we've played, I'd say at least, just between the two of us, we've probably played like 10 to 15 different versions of them on different consoles and different iterations and remakes, and it gets really kind of difficult to, keep up with them all.
The best one is...
Yes, I would argue that the best one is Street Fighter II Turbo, which we played for the Super Nintendo, and the year of that game's release was 1993.
1993, that was the year Meatloaf would do anything for love, but would not do that.
Oh, is that really when he went through that phase?
That is. Meatloaf made his grand resurgence in 1993 with Bad Out of Hell 2. What did they call it?
I think it was something like that. Was there a 2? What was the first one then? What major hit came from the first album?
Oh, there was the first Bad Out of Hell. The whole album actually plays like a mini rock opera, and while it's not really my favorite, it's not terrible. There's some decent songs on there actually.
Well, Meatloaf seems like a fun guy. I just don't really care too much for his music, so I don't know.
Yeah, I prefer when he's Bob with bitch tits, but hey.
Yeah, either that, maybe Rocky Horror Picture Show. I can't remember the character's name. Eddie.
Don't even get me started on that. They're remaking that. So.
No, they're not, because why would they?
They might as well show it with a double feature with Tim Burton's Willy Wonka and just ruin everybody's life. So.
Tim Burton's Willy Wonka is one of the last movies.
Bruce Jenner plays Dr. Frank, in which case I'm on board.
Tim Burton's you threw me off there. Now I can't remember the name of it. You just said Willy Wonka. Tim Burton's Willy Wonka was one of the last 3 movies that I saw at the drive-in, so now you've just got me depressed. Fuck that movie.
Now you flip the coin, now you're like, fuck it, tear down the place. Oh, yeah, so basically, that's what was going on in music a little bit. A little more Mariah Carey. I think she had a few hits that year. Who cares? And
she's really hot, though, so whatever that's worth.
She was once upon a time.
I'd still, I'd consider having a date with her.
There you go. Well,
I'd sit down to dinner with Mariah Carey. I'd go that
pursue your relationship with Mariah Carey. I will not.
You pursue your relationship with Meatloaf.
With Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, you have to. Or her, as the case may be, whenever it comes down to it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, people were watching Home Improvement. I wasn't, but people were.
Oh, you were for a minute. I remember those days. You actually were.
Not a fan. I never really got into it. It was one of those ones everybody was watching, obviously, because it was very popular when it came out. And you can only watch Tim Allen grunt so much before you're just not impressed with it anymore.
And his family was just, I don't know what it is, but something about his family just rubs me the wrong way. I hate every one of those characters.
None of them came out of the same vagina. I mean, if you look at every single one of those kids looks so incredibly different from not only each other, but the parents that they're supposed to be. Like, that family does not work.
It was like Denise and Rudy on the Cosby Show. It's like, where did these
where did these mulatto kids come from? But, then, But also, people were watching Seinfeld, which was fantastic. People were
That was on in '93. Was that its
Yes.
first year?
I don't know if it was the first year, but that was a very popular show that year.
Wow. Okay.
People were watching Roseanne. People were watching.
Were they though? Were they watching Roseanne still in '93? That was. Oh, I wish I knew what season that was. That was probably around the time that it started getting really bad.
I don't know if it necessarily started getting really bad at '93 just yet. It was
Right
still,
on the cusp.
It was still probably good in '93.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was good for a few years. Roseanne was steady for a good solid 6 years or so.
I would say I believe there's 8 seasons of the show, 7 or 8, maybe 7, somewhere around there. But I think the last 2, maybe 2.5 seasons were really terrible. Pretty much everything up until that was really good. Roseanne was at one time a really great show.
Sure. And then Thunder Alley. Remember that show?
No, I don't.
Me neither.
Okay, so that happened. So
Exactly.
those of you who do remember, there you go.
Grace Under Fire. Remember that show?
Oh, that I do remember. Yeah.
So that's what people were watching. Out of any of those, the only ones I would recommend anybody watch would definitely be Seinfeld and Roseanne. So
Fair enough.
good stuff.
Jeez. What was going on in the movies in '93?
Movies. Let's see what was at the Oscars.
Okay.
You're
I can
the
already
Oscar
tell you.
champion. I'm sure you know who won.
I always remember the Best Picture. I always get a little bit waffly when it comes down the line to the actors and then the supporting actors and stuff like that. But the movie Best Picture of '93, I guarantee you, be on the shadow of doubt, Schindler's List.
Absolutely. Schindler's
by
List.
Steven Spielberg.
Tom Hanks was Best Actor.
Philadelphia.
Yep. Holly Hunter, the piano for Best Actress.
Oh, she was. That's right. That was the piano. Okay. Yeah.
Best
Supporting
supporting actor.
I have to throw that one in because he was so good in it. Tommy Lee Jones for The Fugitive.
Oh, yeah. Tommy Lee Jones was awesome. And also, Anna Paquin, Sookie Stackhouse from True Blood, for all of you young folk. She was very young, won Best Supporting Actress for the piano as well.
I think that she was the second, I think she may even still be the second youngest Oscar winner ever in the acting categories. I think the first was Tatum O'Neal for Paper Moon.
Yeah.
Anna Paquin, she grew up to be, wasn't she in one of the, she was Rogue in the X-Men.
Yeah, she was Rogue in the X-Men movies, which I thought she was a very good Rogue. She's very good Sookie Stackhouse. If you enjoy True Blood, which it's a guilty pleasure show of mine, it's completely fucking ridiculous, but I enjoy watching it.
I have a particular, whenever I see her, especially as Sookie Stackhouse, it really kind of almost creeps me out because without any hyperbole whatsoever, bump up her breast size by about a cup and you have like a dead ringer for my ex-girlfriend who became a stripper. The face, I'm not even kidding, the stripper ex looked almost identical to her in that show.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, Fred Gwynn died that year.
Fred Gwynn, really, of the Munsters.
Exactly, Herman
I
Munster.
didn't know. See, then was My Cousin Vinny one of his last roles?
I believe it was his last role, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good one to go out.
You might know him from Pet Sematary, and at Car 54, Where Are You? He was.
Oh yeah, he was. Oh God, I'm not even gonna try. I used to watch that show, but I can't remember the name.
The late great Andre the Giant died in 1993.
Oh, that he did. Yeah. That's right.
So,
everyone knows who he is. He needs no introduction.
No introduction. He was Andre the fucking Giant.
Not too many of those.
Exactly. Yeah. So Dizzy Gillespie died that year.
Interesting. That's a name you don't really hear about anymore.
No, but he was a fabulous jazz musician. So
sure.
Yeah. So, and the famous drug lord Pablo Escobar. That was the year he bit it. And River Phoenix. River Phoenix bit it. Collapsed outside the Viper Room and died.
Yes.
He was a very young, a young child actor that was up and coming. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, if you're familiar with him, that was his older brother, who was a very good young actor. And he was
the lead. Well, not really the lead because there were 4 main characters, but he was the older, wiser of the 4 characters in Stand By Me, and he did a tremendous job.
Fantastic job. In that
Absolutely.
movie. Sure. And one last one, Vincent Price died that year. So.
Oh wow! I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't make it longer than that. 93. Wow.
Yeah, one of the greats of horror.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Didn't he do a Subway commercial?
Did he do it? I don't recall. That's
Something, I think The Simpsons
fantastic.
even mocked it. I think they put him in something different and couldn't actually say Subway, but yeah. Oh, no, you know what? I don't think it was Subway. I think it was like Cousins or something.
He
I'm not
couldn't
even,
even land the Subway gig. He got like shafted with cousin subs.
either that or perhaps even more ridiculously, Cousins was like, we really need business. I know, let's get horror legend Vincent Price, because if he's known for anything, it's his love of sub sandwiches. It writes itself.
Jeez.
I don't
Yep.
even know.
And
Wow.
the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl that year. And that is basically 1993 in a nutshell.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was some stuff going on in world events. I don't know. If we
Nah.
want to delve into that at all. Maybe next time. Maybe next time we have a game for 93, we'll delve into the world events of 1993. But
Yeah, every year there's a lot of stuff to cover. We can't do it all in one episode.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, 93. Oh, man. We're talking about Street Fighter 2. There's a whole lot to cover. Our history with Street Fighter 2 goes back to the beginning in 1991 when we both played the first, I guess not the first game in the series. That would obviously be Street Fighter 1.
Right.
But
and nobody played that game.
I was just going to say, no one ever played it because it was, supposedly crap. I can't even speak for it because I've never played it. I've never even
I
cared.
played it once, and it was not fun. It was on a PC, and I didn't have any kind of joystick, and it was just my buddy had like a copied copy of it way back in the day, and it was kind of exciting to see where it all began till you played it, and then you were like, yeah, that was terrible. So, but it was a jumping off point. Any movies you were watching in 1993?
Oh, yeah, you know what? That's right. We do need to cover the 1993 movies, Yes. Among the movies I was watching in 1993 was Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
I remember vividly the first time watching Falling Down. I had pneumonia, double pneumonia, and both lungs really bad. And I was sick on my couch, and luckily we had HBO, and that was one of the movies that premiered while I was sick on my couch, and I taped it and I watched it over and over and over again.
It's so good. It's the story of Falling Down is literally this. Michael Douglas plays an everyman, a little bit mentally imbalanced, a little bit off, yes, but the thing is, he's just had it up to here. He's had enough.
Yeah, he snapped. He's had a day where he snapped.
He's trying to drive home. It's L.A. It's congested. It's hot. Everything's been going wrong. You find out halfway through the movie that he's lost his job. Just things are not going well. And finally he says, you know what? I've had enough. And the entire movie is basically just one series of misadventures after another, where he's confronted with everyday life bullshit, and he deals with it in his own special way. And the character, Michael Douglas is great in it. It's dramatic, it's interesting, it's funny. I love the character so much. I still intend, I tried to, but I didn't have the money at the time. I still intend to actually get a tattoo of that character on my fucking arm. Bill Foster holding a briefcase in one hand and a shotgun in the other. That's just fantastic.
Yeah. It's played by Michael Douglas, and he does a fantastic job. The movie, the guy, it wasn't his first day. You could tell he was mentally unstable. His wife obviously left him enough and worried enough to keep him and his kids away. There's restraining orders involved, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's actually another good point, is that he's not just trying to get home. It's his daughter's birthday, and he wants his daughter, but for reasons that the movie doesn't quite get into, you're left to interpret as you will. His ex-wife, doesn't really want him around.
Yeah, and basically the whole movie is just him becoming more and more unraveled and unhinged as he proceeds to have a very bad day.
Yes.
And gosh, there's just so much in that movie. It's done so well. I can't recommend that movie enough.
Yeah, directed by Joel Schumacher before he pissed on his career with the Batman movies.
Did he do two of the Batman movies? Was he responsible for two of them?
He did Forever and Batman and Robin, yes.
Yeah, the worst ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But don't remember those. Go rent Falling Down.
Yeah. Falling Down is fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah.
How about you? What were you watching in 93?
Oh, 1993. Very, 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 very good movie. Very, 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 very good movie.
Did you like
very,
it?
Very, 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 very good movie. Groundhog Day.
I thought you might pick that one. Yes, I have to echo your sentiments. Yes, Bill Murray's best movie by far.
I
feel it is.
Best movie
I feel it is. Others would say Ghostbusters, but the floor is yours.
I might say Caddyshack, actually. But he's not necessarily the focal point of Caddyshack. So I could argue Bill Murray's best movie. However, I could argue that my previous movie from last week is Bill Murray's best movie. It's hard to say. He's so good in so many movies. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Basically, Groundhog Day. He's a snarky news reporter who's been doing his job too long. He's kind of a prima donna, you know, thinks a little, but he's a legend in his own mind kind of a guy. And he gets stuck doing this special interest feel good, go cover the, you know, go up to Punxsutawney and cover the groundhog story. And he's done it every year and he's just sick of it and he hates it. And basically what happens is he gets stuck in this paradox of every morning he wakes up and it is Groundhog Day again. So basically he lives the same day over and over and over again.
Yeah, not necessarily for anybody who hasn't seen it, not necessarily the next year's Groundhog Day, that same day he just experienced.
Exactly. Like he gets up, he stays at a bed and breakfast, and every morning when he walks out of his room, he runs into the same guy in the hallway who says the same thing every morning. And eventually he catches on that this is going to happen, and it just keeps happening to the point where he's just like, fuck it. Like he commits suicide 16 different ways, and he wakes up, and every morning at like 6 o'clock when his alarm clock goes off, the same song kicks on the radio, wakes him out of bed, and he's basically stuck there until he learns to appreciate life. It's kind of the lesson of that movie. But it's Bill Murray, and it's Harold Ramis. Their last time they ever worked together, actually. And I'm told that's because Bill Murray was impossible on the set and basically just drove a wedge in between him and everybody there.
Well, was it one of those situations to where he was just always Bill Murray? He was always on?
No, I think the situation actually was a number of things. I think he kind of had... from what I understand, is Bill Murray kind of had a complex where he felt like people thought he was where he was at because Harold Ramis always propped him up, because all of his movies that were big were Harold Ramis movies that he wrote and directed and you know what I mean, put him up in. Sure. I think that was kind of playing onto it. I think he was also going through a divorce at the time. So from what I understand is he was showing up to the set late. He was rude to people on set. He's come out and apologized for this, you know, not too long ago actually, for his behavior on the set.
Well, was it not to interject, but was his apology, do you know, before or after Harold Ramis died?
I think it was after. They did come to terms. They did, when he found out Harold Ramis was on his deathbed, he did go visit him, and nobody will know what conversation they had. But I guess when he came out, you know, they came out of it, you know, friends again.
That's good.
Yeah, they had a time before it was too late to reconcile. And when he was actually at the Oscars, doing the Oscars for the best, I think he was presenting for best cinematographer. He announced Harold Ramis as one of the potential winners for the Oscar, like just threw it, you know, ad-libbed to the thing, and that was kind of his little homage to Harold Ramis after the fact.
That's awesome. See, as much as I watched the Oscars, I must have missed that year. I don't remember that. That's fantastic.
Sure. So, but Bill Murray is one of my very, 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 I consider to be one of the funniest people on the planet, and I love him for many reasons, and Groundhog Day is one of those reasons. So, if you have not seen Groundhog Day, fantastic movie.
Well, see, Groundhog Day is a good one because you think, if you haven't seen it yet, and by now most people have gotten kind of to the point where everyone's recognizing how good it really is. It's a movie to where when you describe it to somebody, they think it's going to get tiresome, but it really doesn't. It's paced so evenly that you see the character progress naturally. I mean, if you were stuck in this situation, you would at first question it, you wouldn't get it, you'd have fun with it. Then, as you said, sooner or later you get tired of it, you start exploiting it, you start, as you said, you start killing yourself just to see what happens, you know. But then eventually it gets to the point where he realizes, I need to get out of this. I need to find a way out. And just the way the movie progresses, it's very interesting. It's a very good execution of the premise.
Yeah, and to think, the wedge that he drove between him and Harold Ramis, you think might have affected the film to a point where...
not at all.
Yeah, honestly, they put out some of their best work. I mean, it was to the point where they weren't even communicating on set. Like, they had like a mediator and stuff. It was,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it got ugly, I guess. And it was Bill Murray. It wasn't Harold Ramis. I mean, I guess from what I understand, Harold Ramis was trying to just work with it and just, you know, whatever. It's his old friend. He feels like they complement each other well, whatever. He basically wrote the part for Bill Murray. I mean, it was... And, but like I said, you know, people have their time, they have their moments. If he was going through a divorce, if he had some other things going on, he had some self-esteem issues, who knows? But seems like they worked past it, and whatever happened during the filming of that movie, it's one of his best fucking movies. It's fantastic.
Yeah, again, I personally, for my money, it is his best movie. I mean, I can understand why others would disagree, but it's my personal favorite of his. So, I mean, I totally endorse it.
Sure. And there you have it. There's our movie recommendations for 1993.
All right. Well, I guess now that we've already covered the crappy Street Fighter game, let's skip right back to it and get right along into this 1993 flow.
Sure.
Actually, you know what? No, I'm a hypocrite. I can't say that because again, our experience with the Street Fighter game started well before 93. Do you remember the first time you ever played just the plain old Street Fighter 2?
I remember vividly the first time I ever played Street Fighter 2. I was walking out of a movie, and lo and behold, you had told me about Street Fighter 2 and how it was a neat game, and it was kind of one of those things catching on. There was probably other fighting games like Karate Champ and things like that, but there was no really awesome fighting games that really captured the imagination of a young person that had, cool sets of moves, just neat characters, vivid, colorful backgrounds, all that stuff that makes the game unique and fun to play. Very, the controls are, user-friendly, that sort of thing. So I was walking out of the movie theater, and right in front of me was a brand new, they must have installed it, that week sometime, and it was a brand new, arcade machine of Street Fighter 2, and very rarely did my mom hand me money to go play the arcade, but she let me have $1, and I got to play a couple rounds on it, and I was hooked. So safe to say that as soon as that was released on Super Nintendo, I was in line to get that game.
Do you remember, I guess I'm assuming, I think I might have even asked you this before in the past, but was the theater that you went to, was that Cinema 5 on the north side of Kenosha?
That was Cinema 5 on the north side, absolutely.
Okay. Do you happen to remember the movie that you saw?
I don't remember the movie I saw. Honestly, if I looked at the release of the arcade machine and then looked at what movies were in the theater, I could probably narrow it down. I did not do that. So.
That's actually kind of cool in a way that you remember Street Fighter more than you remember the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It must not have been super. Who knows? It was probably Three Amigos or something.
Now, all right, my experience was similar but different. See, with me, I also happened to be, I don't think I was actually going to see a movie, but it was at a place that housed a movie theater. It was on the south side of Kenosha, same town,
sure,
right by my neighborhood, at a place called Market Square. And I happened to go into a little, they didn't just have a theater in this building. They also had a few other, well, it was actually a rather large building. It was kind of like an indoor mall of sorts. And in addition to the theater, right adjacent to the theater, they had an arcade called Aladdin's Castle. And I happened to be walking into that arcade. I didn't expect to see anything out of the ordinary, but there was this machine that like a horde of teenagers was crowded around. And I don't believe I got to play that first time that I saw it, but I came back later, like at least a day or two later, and I happened to, to find the machine empty, where I could actually play it myself. And I had the same experience that you did. It was like, wow, what is this game? It's got these huge, colorful characters. It's got like this awesome sound. It looks creative. It looks interesting.
You're fighting just one guy as opposed to walking down the street fighting various generic,
right.
And...
Yeah, we were used to beat-em-ups like Double Dragon and Final Fight. In fact, there's a little bit of a story I'll tell in a minute between Final Fight and Street Fighter. But, I had never seen anything like that. I had never, while Karate Champ did exist and was in the arcade at the same time, I personally had never played it. But when I saw Street Fighter, it was just, it just drew you. It was just so compelling. It was, again, so vibrant, so colorful. So I like you, I popped in like $1 or $2 and had my play, and I was hooked right from the beginning.
Yep.
Do you remember the first character that you chose?
Yeah, I do. I chose Blanca. I thought he looked neat as a kid. This beastly character, and right away, that was my first choice.
Blanco was my first choice as well. I find that interesting. Yeah.
It must just be, the kid. I mean, not that Blanca's a terrible guy, but I mean, it was a good first character to pick on a whim because he's got a very easy move set, and you can at least figure out his electric, shock thing pretty quickly. So, which I did, and so it was a good first choice.
Yeah, that's true. Not all of the characters. In fact, I think there's only about maybe 3 or 4 that have the rapid tap button, that executes a special move. So when you're a kid, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're just jumping around with this dude hammering the buttons. You figure out a move. You're going to stick with that guy for a couple rounds. You're going to think, yeah, cool. I'm already figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you only got a couple quarters to spare.
Yeah, for sure. Back as it was back in the day.
Yeah.
So the story of Street Fighter 2, and I'll try and make it brief because it can get extensive. Essentially, what happened was Capcom, the designer of the games, obviously, they had made Street Fighter 1, which initially it used like a punching bag system. Like it didn't have buttons. It actually had like a pad that you would punch physically to execute your moves. And apparently they had to pull that because people were getting injured. They were beating it up and getting bloody hands and shit. So they said, okay, let's just replace this with buttons instead. But by that point, the damage was done. It wasn't really a big seller, and they just kind of moved on to other things. The next thing they did was a game called Final Fight, which they made because in going to the arcades to see what was popular, they saw that Double Dragon was a big seller. So they made Final Fight. Final Fight really took off more than they expected it to. So at this point, the stories differ. There are some people within Capcom who say that the higher-ups demanded a follow-up to Street Fighter, and then there are other people who said, hey, call Final Fight Street Fighter 2. Because that's really good, and we want to kind of continue the Street Fighter line. So that part is a little bit murky, but basically, long story short, after the kind of relative failure of the first Street Fighter and the unexpected success of Final Fight, they then encouraged, somebody at the top encouraged the designers to get together and make a sequel to Street Fighter, which they obviously did. It was created by two Akiras. Let me look at my notes because I'll completely massacre their names if I don't have them in front of me here.
Sure.
Let's see. Yeah, the designers, the people actually. Well, Street Fighter 2 was designed by at least probably 20 people. It was a very large crew. Each person who made a character in that game had his own special. He was tasked with creating the character's moves. There were people that were designed for doing the music, doing the stages. Like it was a whole big group effort. But the people who actually are credited with designing the game are Akira Nishitani and Yasuda. Okay. And yeah, the producer was Yoshiki Okamoto. Nice. And so in 1991, Street Fighter 2 was released to arcades, and it exploded. If you weren't alive in 1991, you have no idea how on fire the arcade scene was. I mean, not since the days of like Pac-Man and Missile Command and Asteroids and Space Invaders a decade before had arcades ever been so popular as they were with Street Fighter 2.
Yeah. Hoppin' at the time. I mean, Aladdin's Castle was just full of people. I mean, you go to arcades these days, and it's sad. And maybe you live in an area that has very populated, and there's still a lot of people in the arcades. But if you go to an arcade around here, they're half empty, or if not all empty. A couple of kids, unless there's an event. Sometimes arcades around here will have Smash Brothers tournaments or things like that, where they'll draw some people. But for the most part, if you're going into the arcade and it's not like a weekend or it's not like a Saturday morning or something like that, it's going to be a pretty empty place. And back in the day, there was always people in the arcades, and there was always lines around the games like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, the Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, things like that. They were just people lined up to play these games. But again, there was less consoles at home. They were kind of more expensive, at that time. Games were more expensive at that time. Well, they weren't more expensive. They were about the same price as they are today. However, with inflation, it was more to spend back in the day.
Well, I mean, gaming, back then, I don't know if this is true of everybody else, but in our childhoods, it seems like while people had expendable change to drop into an arcade machine, like not everybody ran around buying libraries of like 50, Super Nintendo games or whatever. I mean, back then, I don't know why it is, and it doesn't seem like it's just anecdotal. It seems like a lot of people back in that time just did not have huge amounts of spare finance to throw around on these video games. Right. So a lot of people did go to arcades. I mean, you'd throw in $1, you'd throw in, $5 or whatever. You'd have, like, if you were good, a good few hours of entertainment from a game just like this.
Right.
And Street Fighter 2 hit it so big that they were actually sending, like, duplicate. I mean, like, at least I had never seen this before, when the arcade would actually stock more than one machine of Street Fighter 2. It was so popular. They would have 2 machines, sometimes even 3 machines of Street Fighter 2 because just that many people were lined up to play.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean,
yeah. I wish now that I'm older and I have my own money and I could afford to stand there and play games all day. There's no more cool, awesome arcades with awesome games. So
yeah, that's what's
catch-22s.
We'll actually get into that a little bit later because it's the quality of home ports such as the game of Street Fighter that we played on the Super Nintendo that kind of like it closed the gap between the home console and the arcade, and it got to the point where arcades were kind of redundant.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we'll definitely discuss that. But basically what happened was, again, Street Fighter 2 was so popular that after a while they decided to add an upgrade to it. They said, well, hey, man, how can we capitalize on this and make it even better? And I can't remember the guy's name. I guess, like,
Akira something, right?
No, actually.
Just saying.
There are a lot of Kiras on this team, yes.
Sure.
I can't remember if this was an American fella. I can't remember his name. I guess I'm not even going to venture a guess. But there was somebody who was an actual Street Fighter 2 player who kind of like he gave notes to Capcom and he showed his enthusiasm. He suggested ideas. He was apparently kind of like so addicted to their game that they hired him in, and he made suggestions. And he said, "I'm hearing that a lot of people are saying that they want more. They want to be able to play in the first Street Fighter 2. You couldn't play as the same character versus one another. If somebody picked Ken." the second player couldn't also pick Ken. I mean, that's like a standard
thing. Well, they could, but his name was Ryu.
That's true, yes. That's perhaps a bad example. In technical terms, yes, the game did not allow you to choose the exact same character to fight, sure. Ken and Ryu, notwithstanding. And so it was suggested that, hey, let's make it to where, characters can play against each other. They've been wanting this. I see this in arcades. People are really going for this feature. In addition, I hear that people want to be able to play as the bosses. Initially, Capcom in Japan, didn't think that was going to fly. They thought, well, no one cares that much. But, they eventually relented. And so the first revision of Street Fighter II, Street Fighter II Champion Edition, also known as Championship Edition, that came out in, probably late 92, early 93. I'm not actually totally sure on that one. And, I don't really remember exactly the time of when all this went down, but not too long after that, you might remember this, people started finding hacks, illegal bootleg copies of Street Fighter II in the arcades. Did you ever see those? Did you ever run across?
I did not run across, but I've heard the lore. You'd be in the arcade, and there was always the whispers of arcade lore for different various things, especially once the fighting games came around. There was always all these rumors here and there. So, yes, I have heard the rumors of those, but I've never witnessed one of those cabinets myself.
Oh, my God. Okay, so you didn't have the joy of playing Street Fighter II Rainbow Edition?
No, did you?
Yes, I did. In the Walmart that we previously discussed, which was in the middle of town, that's now defunct. In fact, I blame this for why it's defunct, because they had a copy of the Rainbow Edition hack. Yeah, in the vestibule of this Walmart, they had a game that I didn't know anything of it. I saw, oh, cool, Street Fighter 2. I'm getting kind of good at Street Fighter 2 at this point. I'm confident. I'll throw in my 2 quarters and play it for a few minutes while, my mom is shopping or whatever. And I played this game, and it was ridiculous. It was super fast. It was buggy as fuck. Like people, the characters in the game could jump in the air and do fireballs and shit, in the air, which normally, as you know, you can't. And the game was completely unbalanced. Characters were, doing stuff super fast. Moves were different. I mean, it was just completely radical. It was a mess. But I bring this up because that actually led to the creation of Street Fighter II Turbo. This American, character that I, referenced before, he found one of these machines, and in doing research for it for Capcom to tell them, hey, this is what the bootlegs are doing, this is the game that's eating into your profits, whatever, here's my experience from playing it. He said that he sat down to write a really bad review because it was a mess. But that same night that he was playing this shitty game, this shitty Rainbow Edition hack, and then writing this letter to Capcom to tell them that it was bad, don't worry about it, it's a mess, people are not going to, our games are quality, this is not going to eat into your profits, don't worry about it. He actually, that same night, before he faxed his message to Capcom, happened to go to the office where he played a fellow coworker in one of their actual legitimate arcade copies of Street Fighter II. And he said that it was after having played the Rainbow Edition and then going back and playing regular standard official Street Fighter II, he said it felt like playing underwater. He said the characters felt so slow, everything just felt like such a drag. He said, actually, the people making these shit hacks, they're shit, and they're imbalanced, and they're a mess, but that speed is addicting. That actual speed,
it is.
I
love the turbo over the original speed. So.
Really, see, that's interesting. That's going to be a point of discussion throughout this episode because he said that when he rephrased his letter and sent it to Capcom and said, hey, I was going to tell you that this game is shit, which it is, but they're kind of onto something with this speed. Capcom of Japan, again, they were like, that's ridiculous, that's stupid, no one cares, no one's going to want that. That's going to, our game has been all about timing and precision. If you add speed, that's going to fuck everything up. But again, they relented, and Street Fighter II Turbo was born. And so eventually, after my long story, here we are, roundabout, getting right back to it. Street Fighter II Turbo for the Super Nintendo is that, the home port of that very game.
There you go. I did not know most of that. Awesome.
I actually didn't know some of that until I was doing research for this episode. I knew a little bit of it, but the stuff about the Rainbow Edition hack and their positive reaction to it, I never knew that. I find that interesting. That it was a hack. It was an illegitimate Taiwanese hack that led to Street Fighter II Turbo.
That's pretty. Yeah. I mean, I've seen plenty of game hacks. I seldom see them or actual cabinets out in the arcade to go play. I mean.
Yeah. I actually played it, and it was in fact shit. Yeah.
Sure. Where did you find that at?
It was you probably missed it. It was at the Walmart in on 52nd Street, the one that closed down, the one that became just
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they only had it for a little bit, and I was always confused by it. When you're a kid, you never understand if something's pirated. That's just a whole world you don't really get, or at least we didn't. That was a new concept to us as kids. So when I saw it, I just assumed it was just another version of Street Fighter 2. It's like, well, they've already got Champion Edition. Now here's Rainbow Edition.
Yeah,
to this, I don't know what Rainbow means.
I mean, there's so many different editions. I mean, and then with the speed, didn't they go to Super Mega Alpha Hyper Edition? That was just so fast that you just had an epileptic seizure every time you tried to play. I mean. It just got ridiculous after a while.
Well, after Street Fighter 2, there was Super Street Fighter 2, and then after it went Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Champion, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo,
and then Street Fighter 2 Turbo Champion Edition.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, Megamix Ultra Hyper, whatever, Cockwhack, I don't know.
Because 3 just wouldn't suffice.
EGM magazine back in the day, they always ripped them about that. They were like, well, eventually, we'll have to write to Capcom and tell them, how to count to 3, and they'll figure it out. They'll make it.
You guys know that 3 exists, so
that was the good old days. Yeah,
save a lot of ink. That's all I'm saying.
Before we even get down to actually talking about the game, which we will eventually do at one of these points.
Right. Next week's episode, we talk about the game.
Oh man, do you remember when we first played the home console version of Street Fighter 2, just standard?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, in your bedroom, man.
Did you have any specific memories of that? Do you want to share?
Was that the day Parker was there?
Yes, it was. I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah.
I saw a note from that.
For sure. He was terrible at it. We whooped his ass back and forth, but it was fun.
That's sad though.
Yeah.
I still have a note from that, actually. What happened was we had Parker. Howard and I have a friend. His name's Parker. And we had him come over, and the three of us played this game. And we were all relatively new at it, but you and I had played it, whereas I don't think he ever had. And we beat him a lot, and it's kind of sad, but whatever, it is what it is. But I still have somewhere in my notebooks, I'll find it and like scan it and send it to you. But I have an old tournament bracket page that you made for us that day, and I've still got it. It shows you, Parker, and myself, and it shows, the bracket of who we picked and everything like that. And I wound up winning the tournament, and in your writing, I can see it. You circled winner, Mike, and under that, you wrote, as always.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? What's that?
I said, much to my dismay. Yeah.
Do you remember that after, I remember this distinctly, this is one of my favorite Street Fighter memories, so I have to share it. After you and I got the home console version of it, we were getting kind of good. We'd played it in the arcade, a fair amount. When we got it at home, we played it a lot for a day or two, and we thought, oh, we are so good, we're great now. You know what would be fun? Walking over to that arcade, again, Market Square, right by my house.
Our stuff in the arcade in front of everybody.
Yeah, let's go there and, yep. Do you remember what happened when we tried to do that?
I imagine we got our asses handed to us.
We got destroyed.
I mean, we're used to playing it on a Nintendo controller. We're used to playing it against each other, who are both probably mediocre at it. And then, all these things working against us.
And it's so accurate too. We started our stuff is exactly right. We walked to the Market Square thinking, man, I'm gonna pick so and so, and I'm gonna totally kick ass. And yeah, dude, I know these really special moves with this other character, and no one's gonna challenge me. And like immediately we went there. We were just
looking like Roy Munson from Kingpin as we strut in there, and then walking out of there as future Roy Munson from Kingpin.
There you go, another good Bill Murray movie. All right, yeah. One other, and I promise this will be the last one, because this one's very important to me. One more memory of Street Fighter 2, and then we'll finally move on to the actual game review. Or at least your own memories, if you have any to share, because I'm sure you've got stuff to say.
We'll have plenty to share as we go through, I'm sure. So.
Sure. This one was actually just, I say it now because I'm guessing that we probably won't wind up. I don't think the GameTron 98.7 will probably pick another Street Fighter game for us, so I have to slip this in while I can. I remember that when the first Street Fighter 2 came out for the Super Nintendo in, I think it was July of 92, somewhere thereabouts, it was, at Blockbuster, it was out. They had 12 copies, and they were always out. No, people were, renting them left and right, and I could never get a copy. But this one magical day, when my family took me to Petrifying Springs, the beautiful park on the north side of Kenosha. It's awesome nature reserve, tons of woods, tons of parks, a nice river going through it. On our way to the park, we decided, let's stop at Blockbuster and see if they happen to have a copy of Street Fighter. And on this day, they did. And I got it, and it was brand new. I had never played the home version before. I was super stoked. I'm like 12 years old. It's like the most exciting thing in the world. We went to the park, and it was just like the most quintessential, beautiful childhood summer day ever. Like, I sat in the park with my family. I sat reading the Street Fighter II instruction book at the picnic table. I had a great day at the park. I had a whole night, of playing this awesome game to look forward to.
Which in my memory is one of the first games to come from the arcade to actually like hold a candle to the arcade version of it.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
You'd always get like this home version of a game, and it was never as good or as fun or as fluid as the arcade version.
Oh yeah,
Street Fighter 2, while the arcade machine version was still superior, it was a pretty good home copy of that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was amazing. I mean, in comparison to, as you just said, games like, let's say, like Narc on the Nintendo.
Right.
Yeah, like Smash TV. They got the theme and the content essentially right, but I mean, obviously the graphics could never line up. The sound effects were always, cheap imitations. Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, I mean, Nintendo lobbied hard. They went to Capcom and they said, look, we really want your game. Your game is going to help sell our system. And I don't know what kind of deal they struck, but literally it's been said by many people, and I feel it's probably true, that had Nintendo not succeeded in getting Street Fighter 2 exclusively for at least like a year for their Super Nintendo, they may not have caught up to Sega, because Sega was kicking their ass at that point with games like Sonic.
Yeah.
So Nintendo getting Street Fighter 2, that was huge. To this day, it's like, I think, Capcom's second best-selling home game ever, after like one of the Resident Evils.
You'd think that like just sampling the Super Nintendo's controller to see that it wasn't total and utter shit.
You're not a fan of the Sega controller, are you?
No, not at all, by any means.
Oh man, so yeah, the home games of Street Fighter 2 were fantastic, and the home version of Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which obviously that's the one that we played, which we will now start talking about. That was I think a great port. It was a huge game, a lot of content, very close to the arcade. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's hear your first experience. You popped the game in for the first time in how many years?
That's a good question. It's been probably at least 8 or 9, I would say.
This actual Super Nintendo version of this game for me, could be 15 years at least.
Oh my God! Do you still even remember any of the moves?
Yeah, for sure.
I guess you just don't forget.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and I forgot. I remembered most of the moves.
I guess it's like riding a bike.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you do it so much.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, my first experience, what I did was, we didn't plan it this way, but what wound up happening is we kind of like went in different directions that I think are going to bode well for the show. You seem to exclusively have played the Super Nintendo version of Street Fighter 2 Turbo contains both the Turbo Edition and the Champion Edition of the game.
Right.
And there are, in addition to the speed differences, there are actually other differences between.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's added moves to the Turbo Edition and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
Things like, Vega, you can jump off the wall. Well, in the Turbo Edition, they also gave that ability to Chun-Li and things like that.
Yeah, Chun-Li had a fireball in Turbo where she doesn't in Champion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's
Honda, when he's doing his hand slap, you can move him back and forth. So they're superior, They pretty much thought about, well, why does this character suck? And they fixed it. So that was actually pretty awesome.
Except in the case of Zangief, they forgot to do that with him.
I love Zangief for the sole reason that I can actually beat most people with them, and he sucks. I can so cheaply beat people with Zangief, and it's so fun because people chuckle at me when I pick them that I can like half the time perfect people with Zangief, and they just sit there in their shame and fucking.
Isn't that the best? Is beating like somebody who's cocky and otherwise good at the game, but who completely underestimates your ability with that character because he thinks the character is useless.
Absolutely, yeah. I love picking Zangief for that reason. I don't love picking him because he's fun to be. I don't love picking him because I love his movesets or anything. I love picking him for just the look on somebody's face when they just got Zangief.
He is your Curtis Stryker to my Mortal Kombat trilogy.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly.
In mentioning his name, you pronounced him Zangief, I pronounced him Zangief. I should point out, I'm not doing that to be elitist. When I was a kid, I called him Zangief. I called Ryu. We're going to have pronunciation differences, and that's fine. Because
I don't care. I'm going to call him what I've always called him. He's
Right,
Zangief, and
right.
that's all he'll ever be to me.
He'll always be mud to me. Yeah. I mean, again, everyone's got their own way of pronouncing it, and I'm not going to care how you pronounce it. I know you don't give a shit how I pronounce it. I do it the way I do, just for my own sake, just me. This doesn't have to be anybody else's issue. For me, I feel that I sound dumb when I say the character's name, what I consider to be incorrectly. So, if I say Zangief, you say Zangief, fuck it, people know who we're talking about. So it's choose tomato.
Hey man, Zangief is in Wreck-It Ralph, and Zangief says Zangief, so I'll throw that one right there.
Maybe I'm the odd one then. Who knows? I don't know though. I mean, hey, I'm Yugoslavian. He's Russian. It sounds to me more correct when I say Zangief, and plus it's kind of, I don't know. I like the character better when I call him that because he sounds less dumb.
Oh, you don't like the character at all.
What's that?
I said, oh, you don't like the character at all.
I don't, but yeah. So yeah, my first experience with putting the game back in, Zangief was not my first character. My first character, again, I thought, well, you know what? Since it was how it was when I first played Street Fighter, let's start with Blanka.
Ah.
Yeah. So Blanka was my first character. You want to talk about him, our experiences with Blanka?
Go for it.
Okay. I was actually kind of disappointed, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You too?
Yeah, he's not my favorite character by any means. Street Fighter 4, love Blanka, actually. Yeah,
I think he's super cheap in Street Fighter 4. Would you agree with that? I wouldn't know.
People cry a lot.
There you go.
The same guy who's awesome with Ryu. That whatever. You use whatever character is in the game. Use the moves that come with that character, and that's all you can do.
Sure.
If you don't, there's ways to get around to everybody. If you can't beat Blanka, that's your fault, not mine. But yeah.
But in this particular game, you thought, well, why didn't you really care?
It's just kind of boring. I don't know. He doesn't have a whole lot of moves compared to everybody else in the game. His moves he does attack, I don't know. His vertical rolling attack is pretty cool, actually. You can catch people off guard with that.
You see, he does not have that in Champion Edition.
Ah.
Yeah, I was kind of I kept on trying to do it and not succeeding,
Sure.
and I thought, well, how am I? I thought, am I this bad at the game that I can't fire it off? And I forgot that he doesn't have that in Champion Edition.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you can chomp on people's heads though. That's always fun.
That is actually pretty nifty. Yeah. Instead of having a throw, Blanka has a hold, and he'll literally just jump up on you and literally chew your head, and blood squirts out. It's
I believe
great.
that move's called the Wild Fang.
Is it actually seriously?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's a name for every move. Then some of them are just stupid. So.
Some of them. Yeah. For me, Blanka, I found in the champion, and I'm going to waffle between champion and championship. Again, I grew up calling them both, so I don't really care. But whatever, in the champion edition, Blanka's only basically got the standard horizontal roll and the electricity, and that makes him a fairly easy character to predict. And not that you
he
really
has
have
the Wild Fang in that edition, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, but I mean it's not a special move though.
Okay.
It's just it's unique to him, but it's just like a close up, tap the button type of thing. Yeah. Whereas the other two moves, he's got the charging roll and so forth. You don't have to worry about predictability too much against the computer. Although one thing I noticed while playing Street Fighter 2, obviously the Turbo Edition that we played, I felt as if the computer actually does kind of acclimate itself to your fighting style.
The more you lose, the harder it gets, man.
There was a fair amount of losing.
It does. It seems like it seems like there's some sort of artificial intelligence that picks up on the way you play. It's either that or it just progressively makes it harder. It's probably the latter. It just it seems like it doesn't ease up on you. It seems like it only tightens the vice as you keep trying to beat a guy you might be hung up on. So.
Yeah, you'll hear a couple of those stories specifically,
sure.
For sure. Yeah. So Blanka, I don't know. He another theme.
Which Blanka color do you like the best? The color scheme.
Originally one of the reasons why I picked him at first when we first played this game years ago was because I like the bright orange and green. I actually still really do like those colors together, but to me, they're kind of, I don't want to use the word old, but I'm just kind of tired of seeing those colors on Blanka. So I went with this alternate, but the problem is now I don't even remember what his alternate color was because after we spoke, about, playing the game or whatever a couple days ago before we sat down to do the podcast, I then played a couple of matches with him in Turbo, so now I can't remember which. The characters, long story short, have a different color combo for their second alternate choice in each game. So you've got a different color combo in Turbo that I have.
In Turbo, he used yellow and blue as his alternate color, and I prefer the original green and orange for sure.
See, I actually remember thinking that the yellow and blue was kind of nifty, but that's probably just because it was different. I wasn't even seeing it. Yeah.
As a kid, you're always excited to see new things. So.
It's something different. That's one thing that I really like about Super Street Fighter 2 is that every single button plus the start button, like every punch,
different color scheme.
Yes,
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, very, very cool, very cool. But yeah, Blanca, I don't know. I was okay with him. I got through, I'd say maybe, I don't know, 5 characters or so. I actually wrote it down. I did, in fact, get through 5 characters before losing with Blanca, so I did okay. It's just, I found him just kind of awkward to use. He was kind of unconventional, which is cool. That makes him unique, but I didn't really enjoy playing as him very much.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Didn't hate him. And that's the thing, too. I did all of my playing this time against the computer. This is a game I much prefer to sit and play with a friend. So maybe if I was just playing with you here and there, maybe I would have had more fun playing with Blanca. I can't say because that's not what I did, but I imagine the gameplay experience may have been different. It may have been more fun to, obviously too, when you're sitting and playing with somebody, you change up your character more often than when you're trying to play through a game with somebody. So that all could have piled on to my Blanca's kind of meh,
Those are all very good points. I mean, you're right. When you're playing through one character and you're trying, and I can't speak for you. I'm assuming you probably did the same thing. I don't know. But with me, I tried to go through the game with every character. So what happened was, so if I lost with a character, it sucked, but I didn't pick somebody else. I picked him again and tried to see how far.
Exactly. That's what I did. I did go through and beat the game with every single character, and I did do it that way.
Okay, yeah, then we have the same experience.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, with Blanca, you're right. I think had we played against each other, it would have been a different experience. And in addition, I don't even think that's just our personal feelings, being what they are. In reading some of the stuff about the game for the podcast, I read that Capcom actually specifically engineered, I mean, it's obvious because it's a 2-player competitive fighting game, but Capcom, like really put their effort into trying to do things that would, in fact, gain 2 players, the reputation as a 2-player game. At that point, there weren't a lot of competitive 2-player fighting games. There may not have even been any beyond Karate Champ. I don't know. So, I mean, they really tried to make this a 2-player experience. So it is not the same when you're playing with 1 player.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, who was your first choice when you first popped this game?
I went right through the thing, and I just jumped on Ryu immediately. So I went through it with Ryu. And funny side note, I wanted to see if I could still do this, and sure enough, my first playthrough with Ryu was incredibly fast and incredibly easy because I can very cheaply pretty much play through and beat the entire game just using the strong kick button. I have just combinations worked out where I can leap, I can get defensive crouch, and I'm very good at sweeping, kicking, coming up, and double kicking you, and I put down pretty much everybody who came up at me pretty quickly with Ryu, and both Ken. I went through the game with both those guys first. Basically the same game experience, just 2 different skins on my avatar, and I played through the games pretty much just using block and the high kick button.
That's funny because on one hand it's cheap, but it's also fun. It's actually fun to use that button because that button triggers. Not only does it have the sweep, but again it's got an axe kick. So when you're up close to the character,
and that's a double hit, man. That's a double whammy on a very strong hit.
And fun to do too. It's satisfying to go.
And you can get a combo working too. It's not a true combo because it's blockable, but you can kick them into the ground and then follow it up with a sweep of just as strong of a kick and really hit them for that double combo too.
So on the axe kick, on the second of the axe kick hits that gets them on the way down, you can then sweep them again.
Say if I was like a jumping kick, like a jumping leg kick to them.
Oh, sure,
and then drop down and sweep as they're falling to the ground. I can usually get an extra hit out of that. That is not really a true combo because you can block out of that, but I mean, for the most, you can. The computer falls for it a lot, so it was very easy to do that.
A word about combos. That's another thing that Street Fighter II revolutionized. It really kind of invented the combo.
Sure.
One of the developers, when they were going through the game, they were testing out I believe they said that it was when they were testing out the stage where you beat up the car for no good reason, and they said that
pile of bricks for no good reason.
Yeah, I mean, none of that really makes a whole lot of sense. But
and it's stupid because I want extra points.
Yeah, because points. Well,
in hindsight, there was a kid. It was really fun. I always looked forward to beating up the car.
The car. I don't care for the other ones, but the car is actually fun. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's fun to deconstruct something like identifiable, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, but they were actually testing that. I don't know if it was one of the developers testing or he watched somebody else do it. But either way, I guess the story goes that when they were watching this scene being played, they saw that the character seemed to actually be able to get in an extra hit every now and then. They'd actually be able to like throw in an extra blow, and they realized that there was like a bug in the animation where a move could be canceled if timed correctly. A player pushed the attack button at the right time, so they could interrupt a move that had already connected by quickly throwing another move. And obviously the story, tells itself. Players, quickly exploited this and discovered that system was in place, and unblockable combos were born, kind of by accident.
And it's fantastic, because that's one of the best parts of fighting games, is getting combos down and timing and all that, so.
Yeah, really fun, and Ryu and Ken are good characters to do that with. I played through with both of them, and though I didn't only use that that button, I did it. In fact, now that I think about it, you never threw any shurikens or dragon punches, then, did you?
No, I mean I can. I am very fluent into them.
Oh, sure, of course.
I wanted to see if I could still do it, and sure enough, it was second nature to me. Yeah, I mean that's fine. I can. I've thrown enough Hadoukens for the rest of my life.
That's right. Oh, in fact, yeah. See, I just fucked it up. The Hadouken is the fireball. The Shuriken is the Dragon. Yeah, I was redundant there. See, I sort of remember this because I actually distinctly recall back in like 7th grade when Street Fighter II, the first version in arcades, was the shit. Do you remember that like in gym class, like kids would like come into gym class and they'd be bouncing around or whatever before class started when we were all supposed to line up, and we'd all be by the wall waiting to start the gym's exercises, and they'd be performing like Street Fighter moves. Like they'd be they'd be acting them out and being like Hadouken. They'd actually be throwing fake fireballs at each other.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that was good time. So yeah, I should have remembered that. Hadouken.
I always remember the Shoryuken too because it's Sho and then Ryuken.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Do you remember the name of the spinning the hurricane kick?
The spinning hurricane is something like Kachu Tatsumika or something.
You're actually, believe it or not, that's actually kind of close. It's Tatsumaki. It's no, I just fucked it up. I have it completely. I'm drawing a blank.
Senpukiyaku.
Senpukiyaku. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's fun to say.
It actually is. It is fun. Yeah. So Ryu and Ken, I had basically the same experience you did. I fought a little bit more with more versatility, just because whatever I chose to. But it was they're very good characters. I would argue that they're probably at or near the top of the tier as far as versatility, ease of use. Yeah,
cool moves. Some of the harder moves to pull off, timing-wise, to get that dragon punch in when it's relevant, and especially if you're doing like the strong punch version of it, it's not always an easy move to pull off. So.
Yeah, it's as far as actual combination of what you have to do with the joystick, it's probably the most difficult move in the game, or at least one of them. I mean, obviously, once you master it. But at first, that was one of the trickier things to get down.
And I've noticed, too, with like the Super Nintendo controller, it seems like the lighter touch you have when doing these moves, the better they actually respond. So.
I hadn't noticed that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Ryu and Ken, that gets our vote for two of the best characters.
Absolutely, and they're super cool characters. They're neat looking characters. They're fun movesets. They're very cool.
They are, yeah, very good characters to use. Do you have a preference between the two?
I always kind of had a preference to Ken, but I can't think of a good reason why, really. I think probably because people back in the day, I was always controller number 2, and, people always picked Ryu, so Ken was left over, so I just kind of always just picked Ken.
That actually makes a lot of sense. See, I eventually wound up favoring Ken in Super Street Fighter 2 because that's when they really started to differentiate the characters.
Sure.
Ken in Street Fighter 2 has like a flaming dragon punch, whereas Ryu has a flaming Hadouken.
Yeah.
And I just happen to like the dragon punch better.
Sure.
So in that game I preferred Ken, but in this one I've always dug Ryu better. For whatever reason, he just struck me as a more interesting character, I guess, which is funny because he's actually pretty bland. He's just a dude in a white gi who just like wanders the earth looking.
I don't know. He's like that iconic karate character. If you're a fan of, I grew up just loving karate and things like that. I mean, there's always neat karate movies, just anything like that. So he's the quintessential karate good guy. So he's a fun character to pick.
He's unique in the fact that he's a cliche, which is kind of interesting because in a game full of creative characters, he's like the most basic, but that kind of makes him stand out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, who should we cover next?
You throw somebody out.
All right, let's go. Dalsim.
Ah, okay. You tell me what you thought first, because I've got a couple of interesting things to say about it.
Dalsim, in my opinion, is the hardest character to master in the game.
Oh, sure.
He's got so much going on. He has so many different moves. But also, in my opinion, if you can master Dalsim, he's fucking really good. If you can get his timing down and his awkward moves and his awkward timing and just the strange way his guy moves around, he's fucking really hard to beat, man.
Did you fiddle with his teleports? Because I didn't have those. Okay.
Oh, I love his teleports, man. They're fucking awesome.
Okay, so you had an advantage. Well, not really. Well, I guess obviously it is if you do it correctly, but you had an element to the character that I didn't.
Yeah. And that's just it. I mean, and I can't say they were super awesome against the computer. The computer, you're never going to have the full experience of these moves against the computer, because the computer, like you said, it does adapt. You're not fooling the computer. The computer knows what buttons you are pushing. And so I think that this game seems to be set up in a way that it responds to what you are doing, not necessarily responds in some generic way. At least it seems that way to me. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. It feels that way.
We did still have the same experience as far as that goes. I really did think that the computer just kind of started to catch on to general patterns that I was throwing at it.
Or at the very least could sense, well, he's starting this move, I know how to defend it, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it knows, I don't know how the programming works. Someone could say, well, that's not true. This is the program this way. And they could be right, for all I know. I'm just saying it feels that way to me. But I do recall being very good at Dalsim and playing against other people. And when you are tricking other human beings at this game, using his tricky set of moves and his awkward timing and his weird slow jumps through the spiraling kicks through the air and things like that, and his, very quick yoga flames and yoga fires, to catch you off guard with all that other slow timing stuff. He's a bitch, man. When someone's good with Dalsim, he couldn't be the best fucking dude in the game.
See, now playing through the game with Dalsim this time really surprised me. I remember liking the general look of the character and everything back when I was a kid. I mean, as far as creativity and uniqueness, he really stands out. I mean, he's an emaciated yet built Indian mystic who spits flames and can extend his limbs by 6 times.
Bar none has the best victory celebration of the entire fucking game.
His weird little googly voodoo dance thing.
Exactly.
That he does. Yeah, so playing with Dalsim this time, I was surprised. I really liked using him. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it just he's a great defensive fighter. He's so good. Keeping characters at a distance, I mean, obviously, he's built for that. He's got a really good hard kick. He just kind of around and kicks dudes out of the air.
And you can jump and do that very slowly and spiraling across the screen, or you can jump and kick that in really quickly and actually carry that out pretty fast.
Right.
So it catches you off guard, man. There's if you can get the timing down, like I said with Dalsim, if you get that timing down, man, he might be the best character in the game.
He's very unconventional. I think he would be one of those characters that you say hard to learn, but once you master him, he's like nigh unbeatable.
Yeah, and I will throw it out there. His level is my favorite level in the game as background aesthetics to look at.
That's interesting. I was going to discuss the stages. So you like the India stage with the elephants in the background?
I do. The Ganesha, he's a Hindu god actually.
Yes.
Yep. And he's a god of he's the most worshipped god. He's the remover of obstacles, and he's the patron god of art and science, actually. And
okay. I didn't know that.
He's the Deva, the god of intellect and wisdom as well. So he's a very, very well worshipped Hindu god. So Ganesha would be the elephant god you see in the background on that level.
Now, Dalsim was actually, I didn't know this until the research for this episode, he was actually designed to more or less resemble that character before they changed into the design that he has now. He was actually originally going to have 6 limbs.
Nice. That would have been fun.
Yeah, that would have been a very, very interesting kind of fighter.
The animators want overtime. They were just fucking no.
I couldn't even tell you.
I'm glad they went the route for this because, I don't know, everything about his moves are awesome, particularly the Yoga Noogie. I've always enjoyed that.
I don't remember. I didn't execute that myself in this playthrough. If you did, does he actually say yoga, yoga, yoga every time he hits?
Yoga.
So he does do that, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing like yelling yoga every time you actually pound somebody atop their skull.
I always yell what I am doing or thinking when I do stuff.
You'd be a fool not to.
Exactly.
So yeah, so Dalsim, as far as my playthrough went, I would actually put him. I mean, I didn't do too well with him. I did better than I did with Blanca. I got it says here 7 characters in. Ryu fucked me up. Dalsim is great for defensive, but when you're playing against Ryu on the computer, playing with a friend is going to be different. But when you're playing Ryu against the computer,
Ryu's hard no matter where he comes in the tournament for you.
Because he just hangs back and throws fireballs, and he's got the dragon punch and good defensive moves if you try to jump in.
If you try to come in, yep.
Yeah, and Dalsim jumps. That's part of the things that kind of balances out. That's one of the things about this game. Every character is balanced. You're going to find a character that fits your playstyle better than others. Dalsim, he's great defensively, but on offense, when you try to get over to a character and you need to jump in, he jumps like he's on the moon. He's in slow-mo when he jumps. So if you try to jump those fireballs going after Ryu, he's just going to fuck you up. He's going to dragon punch you or uppercut you or whatever.
You should have fucked with the teleport because that comes in
I couldn't. I didn't have that in mind.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. You didn't.
Did you do that? Was that successful?
Yep.
Wow.
It's a tricky move to pull off, but when you get it down, it's very effective.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you can teleport both forward and backward actually, and you can put yourself, before or back or away from his fireball here and there, or just pop in and then flame him really quick and shit like that. So.
All right, yeah. So yeah, I guess Dalsim gets the vote. He was actually one of the more entertaining characters that I played with.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, you pick the next character. Who should we do?
It looks like, strangely enough that you picked Dalsim, he actually happened to be second in my actual order. The third character I played was Zangief.
Zangief.
Oh, good God.
Zangief, again, is another one of those characters I don't really need to do any of his moves to be effective and beat you. I can get away with a lot of jump kicks and sweep kicks and things like that, too. And a crouching, especially for Ryu and other characters, a crouching strong punch for me, that's another one, the deal breaker, because people try to jump at me, and I can usually punch everybody out of the air over and over, and I have very good times with that, and people get very upset with me when I do it. I fucking love Zangief, man. I love the look on people's face when they get Zangief. It's the fucking best. And he has a huge fucking moveset for the Turbo Edition.
I only remember the spinning clothesline and the spinning pile driver.
Oh, fucking A, dude. He has a whole fucking set of wrestling moves, man.
Are they special moves, though?
He's got a pile driver, he has the Iron Claw, he has the Brain Buster, he has the Deadly Driver, he has a leg throw, he has a stomach claw, he has a German suplex, he has a power bomb, he has a headbutt, a flying body attack, a lariat, and a quick lariat, and the spinning pile driver.
Wow. Okay. All right.
He's not as shitty as people make him out to be. He's big and dumb and awkward, and everybody hates him from the first game. But there is a tale of two Zangiefs, because when you play the Turbo Edition and this edition on out, this whole fucking moveset is brutal.
I gotta say, I don't think that I executed even half of those moves during the 3 characters I made it through in this game.
Not only does he have all these moves, they're all extremely easy to execute. They're all back
special?
Forwards or diagonal downs and things like that. I mean, they're very easy to pull off. The only ones that are really hard to pull off are like the fucking the double lariat and the spinning pile driver.
I don't know if that makes them special moves though. So I mean, they're obviously unique to Zangief, but like when you get up close and you do these moves, do you have to actually do button combinations to pull them off?
Yeah, but nothing like doing like a Hadouken or anything. They're just kind of like hold back and push, high punch, hold diagonal down and push high punch. And yeah, you have to do that.
I got you.
They are significant move combinations, but yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you learn those moves and you get good at them, he's not incredibly fun to be, aside from the fact that it's really fun to beat people with him, but his moves are very useful, they're very devastating, and he's a force to be reckoned with when you're good with Zangief, man.
I remember you kicking my ass with him once in some Street Fighter game back in 2010 or something like that. I don't know if it was Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, that one that I downloaded. They made I think they might have been like a Hyper Edition or something.
Oh yeah, it was an HD remix of Street Fighter.
Exactly, an HD remix of a later version, and yeah, he was actually very good in that version.
I do remember not being angry with you, but being like, what the fuck? When did Zangief get good? What are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, you were always good with him. That's true. Sure. That's true. I did not have that same success. Zangief is obviously, he has no projectiles. He's a very slow character. He's what I would consider to be kind of an average character. He's all brute force. So if you can get near the character and fuck him up, you're good to go. But in order to do that, you need to get near the character. And I don't know if it's just like my game or what, but I was having trouble like really approaching too many characters before they just like beat the hell out of me and kept me away.
If you can get good at his spinning arm thing where he like spins at you.
Right, yeah, which I never was.
Like Hadoukens and shit go right through that.
Right through it, I remember.
So you can get to the guy by taking those avenues. But, you can circumvent people's defensive moves to keep Zangief away by doing that. Because if they come anywhere near you, you're going to smash them with your hands. That leaves them vulnerable. When they start getting up, you can get them in these other moves. So he's pretty effective, man. He really is. I know you don't like him, and maybe that's why you don't realize that. But when you spend some time getting to know his character, man, he's a sleeper, man. He's a sleeper character. That's the fun part about him to me. It's playing at home with Zangief and beating the computer with it was a drag and it was boring. Beating somebody with Zangief who's not expecting it, especially when somebody's particularly good at Street Fighter 2, is always a good time.
Yeah, I mean, you make a very valid argument. I mean, while I used to always be really good at this game, and I would still argue that I am, I guess, quote-unquote good. I mean, I still do all the moves. Well, obviously not Zangief's. I apparently forgot half of his. But I'm capable. I can hold my own in this game. However, I was never like a tournament-level fighter. Mortal Kombat 2 for a while, maybe. I actually may have been back in the day. But Street Fighter 2, though I loved it and was always good at it, never like an expert. So I say this because there's going to be people listening to this sooner or later who are going to be just putting their fist through the screen saying, this dipshit does not know how easy it is to use Zangief to like completely dominate the computer. And that's true, I don't. All I can say is like I tried to fight well with him and I failed. I exaggerate how much I hate him. I think
How long did it take you to beat Bison with him?
Oh God. It took me I don't even know. I should have written it down. That might have been one of the nights when I like stormed out of the house and like threw rocks.
Just at nothing.
Yeah, at the imaginary Zangief in front of me. Oh man, no, he's just he again, he's like Dalsim. He's hard to use. I would argue that he's hard to use, but when you get good at him, I'm sure he's great. That's probably true of all these characters.
See, I wouldn't argue. He's incredibly easy to use. It's just again, you didn't even know all those moves existed. And they're incredibly easy to pull off. So once you do know all those moves exist and you know when to use them, he's incredibly easy to use. And
well, see, here's the thing, though. Two points. For one, I'm not sure how many of those moves I actually had in the Champion Edition. I might not have had.
That may be true as well. You did play the other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming I could be wrong, but I'm assuming at least some of those I didn't have. But nonetheless, it is still more or less my failing that I didn't utilize them because you see, I hadn't remembered that he had so many different close-up grappling maneuvers. I only remembered like his main specials, like the spinning clothesline and the spinning pile driver. So I did not really spend as much time trying to execute stuff like the diagonal down plus punch or whatever because I didn't really know he had them. And in addition, I was spending so little time actually successfully getting close to my opponent anyway that I wasn't even really able to execute them. I don't know. I wasn't very good at this character. I never was. I was always good at a stay back defensive, draw the character in kind of fight. You remember that even from Mortal Kombat. Like you were always the more aggressive Mortal Kombat player between.
Yeah. That's how I like to. I can sit back and be patient. I prefer to be an aggressor.
Sure, understandable. Yeah. Zangief, not bad. I just wasn't very good with him.
Well, let's talk some E Honda.
Okay, I was surprised. E Honda was another surprise. I remember him being kind of like Zangief. I just pronounced it differently. I'm going to throw out different pronunciations for the character every few minutes just to keep people off guard. I'm looking at the E of E Honda. I think maybe that just made me mispronounce it. I don't know, whatever. But E Honda, he reminded me of that character of Zangief in the fact that I always remember him as being slow, clumsy, kind of awkward to use. I really liked using him.
I love using E Honda. I've always liked E Honda.
You always did? Yep. Okay. I never
particularly once I was able to shimmy back and forth using his hand slap and shit, because that's just frustrating for anybody to deal with.
That made a huge difference because the thing is, when you can knock a character down with E Honda, if you're quick, and it's not that hard to do, once you knock a character down, you jump in immediately and you start jamming on that punch button to the point to where you land in front of the character as he's getting up, and even if he blocks, you're still going to hit him for like 6 of those hand slaps and chunk down a bunch of his health, even if he's defending himself.
Mm-hmm. And he's got those moves that are, that catch you off guard, where he leaps at you and flies and headbutts and shit. So
Yeah, you had like the jumping sumo butt splash or whatever. I didn't, but
Yeah.
I still did pretty well with him. I actually had a good time using E Honda.
Yeah, that jumping sumo butt splash is neat because you can hit people on the way up, or you can like awkwardly get that weird kind of alternate, like catches you off guard the way he comes back down at you, which is very, very handy.
So did you notice that the move had priority when you jumped up? Did it always seem to like even
Not
if
always, no, it did not always. There's certain moves that do seem to have priority, actually. I mean, it seems like, Ryu and Ken's, like,
Oh, sure.
mispronounce. I tried to pronounce that the last time we talked about it. His crazy spinning air kick, yeah.
The Tatsumaki Senpu Kyaku this time.
There you go. Yeah, that seems to take priority over a lot of those types of moves, so. You don't always have priority, but I mean, obviously not. If someone's just jumping towards you, you pretty much will have priority over those kind of jumping attacks.
Did you find that you use the I don't remember what they call it. I'm gonna call it the sumo torpedo. Did you use the horizontal?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay. Okay, I didn't use that too much. I noticed that when I used that against a few characters like Guile, and we will be talking about Guile at some point. I have a couple things to say about that character. But I noticed that when I would do stuff about, stuff like that against him, like he would just stand there and just like baby punch me in the face out of the air, like right at the last second. He'd just be like, and he kind of tumble backwards. Yeah.
Cheap little light punch.
Yes, it literally was, like, just to piss you off that much more. I'm not even going to put, like, force behind this. I'm just going to tap at your forehead as you come barreling towards me, and it was enough to knock me back. So I got kind of trained early not to use that move too much. I kind of relied on, like, a lot of See, E-Honda I was aggressive with. I jumped around a lot. I actually really took it to the opponent because, again, that walking hand slap, which does exist in the Champion Edition, I don't remember if it did in the arcade. I want to say it didn't.
I feel like it didn't. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been so long since I played that original Street Fighter 2 that I feel like it didn't exist in that. But.
Maybe it didn't exist in the original very first Street Fighter 2, but then in Champion onward it did. That could be it. Yeah, I'm not sure because I kept on thinking that one of the games he was not mobile for that move, but in this one he was, and it does make a big difference. It kind of makes him cheap. I mean, he can again if he gets close and you've been knocked down and he throws on that move, you're guaranteed to lose health one way or the other.
Sure.
Yeah, so he was good. I enjoyed using him. I felt he was a solid character, kind of more towards the upper tier for me.
Yeah, agreed. I like Yahanda just fine.
Cool.
All right, you pick the next guy.
Well, next on my list is, in fact, I guess we might as well get it out of the way, Guile.
All right, Guile. Being a kid, remember before we ever heard how it was pronounced, Guile?
People called it like Gwilly and shit.
Gwilly, Wiley? Yeah, Guile. Sonic Boom! Yeah.
Oh yeah, I only heard that 157,000 fucking times because that's all he fucking does.
Oh, he combs his hair every now and then.
What's that?
I said, he combs his hair every now and then.
Yeah, I saw that about 157,000 times too because that's what he does when he beats you.
Yeah.
Guile.
His stupid upside down weird awkward kick that he does.
Oh, there's an actual move to that I'm not gonna try to remember. Like where he it's a standard move where he he goes upside down and kicks you in the face. Is that what you're referring to?
I think it's basically just his strong kick.
I think so. Yeah.
I do love his uppercut, his strong uppercut, his crouching strong uppercut is one of the cheapest moves in the game. He comes at it in such a way where his arm extends so high that it has such a reach, and it's such a strong move that I can pretty much knock anybody out of any move with that thing.
Now, Howard, did you call Guile cheap?
I did not call Guile cheap, but he is.
Call Guile cheap. Oh my God, Guile fighting Guile. Okay. All right, you asked about this. Again, we don't talk about the games before we get together to play them because part of the enjoyment for us is discovering what the other person has experienced when we get together to do the show. So we'll talk only very briefly, like, hey, how's it going? Is there anything, whatever, like you forgot, et cetera, et cetera.
Game, how many hours you put in yet, yada, yada,
sure.
yada. That's the extent of the conversation we have before we record the podcast.
Yeah, we keep all the specific details that we've been discussing today for the actual show. But you asked me about a night or two ago. Yeah, I think you might have phrased it like, "Is there anything that you forgot? Like, is there anything that you're remembering?" And it was like, you know what? Yeah, I do. I do remember a little bit of cheapness that I had forgotten about back when I first played this game, and it made me want to put my knee through a window.
Well, because of his knee bazooka.
No, unfortunately, no. I had forgotten that when you fight Guile, See, the thing is, when you're a human being, the game expects you to. Guile has two moves, two distinct special moves. The flash kick, where he jumps up and kicks you out of the air. It takes high priority over almost any move that you can throw at him. And the sonic boom, which is obviously like a fireball type of thing he throws across the screen. A human being is expected to hold down a direction for 2 seconds before then, putting the joystick in the opposite direction and hitting the corresponding attack button to unleash either of these moves. Not the computer. The computer can do a move that it's expected to hold backwards and then press forward. It can do that instantly. It doesn't have to charge. The flash kick, which you're normally supposed to hold down and then press up and kick to execute, the computer can do that from a fucking standing position. Yep. And it can do them like one after the other. Boom, boom. Guile... like people complain. There are cheap games, and nowadays I'm sure there's cheap games now. I'm sure I've played some that are not coming to my head right now. But I forgot that in the golden age of video gaming, like the 90s and so forth, when you say that a game was cheap, you're not exaggerating when you say the game cheats. The game can do stuff that you can't do. The game has superhuman prescience. The game has superhuman ability. It can anticipate what you're going to do, and it does not have to do the same functions that you do. So, in other words, the whole point I'm getting
all of this on top of being able to anticipate what you are trying to do.
Yeah, especially when you're a character like Guile, whose entire basic moveset is to stand back and draw you in. Yep. Guile is cheap because Guile is a character that you lose to, not because you make a mistake, but because you have to, time yourself perfectly for the computer not to figure you out. Yeah. Guile, and what pisses me off more than anything is that Guile was almost always like the last character of the main.
Exactly, right when they start getting more difficult.
Yes, because the characters get sequentially more difficult as you progress through the game. Guile was almost always near the end for me. So it's like, okay, I can understand if I'm going against a character who, has like all these strong moves and shit, which Guile already does. He has a really strong moveset. He's got, like, as you said, he's got like a great uppercut. He's got a good standing high kick that can knock you out of the air. He's a good defensive fighter. In addition, when you're playing against a computer that does not have to do what the programmers made that character do in order to balance him, which is to hold, the direction for a few seconds, when he can just flip out with moves that you yourself are supposed to charge before being able to execute, it's fucked. It's nerfed, it's broken. Going against Guile is a fucking frustrating experience in this game. If you get him on a high level, just kill yourself. Just turn off the game and just like break it over your head.
Exactly.
Because you will lose.
I don't have to review Guile because you just did. That's everything I had to say and more.
So you had some shitty experiences fighting this.
Oh, fuck yeah, he's the most frustrating character in the game to play
against.
He's not the most. Honestly, we'll get to Bison, he can be very cheap as well.
Sure he can.
But, when it comes to like the typical regular characters, he is by far the cheapest fucking character to play. Ryu can be cheap as well, don't get me wrong, but for some reason they don't make Ken as cheap to play against, it seems.
Ryu has a pattern that can be exploited, but the thing is, you have to have really good timing to exploit it, and he's got really strong moves to fuck you up if you do it wrong. Yeah. Ken is just kind of like a crazy, like, aggressive. He'll just like come at you, nonstop. Yeah. So Ken, he's less cheap because he actually at least like brings the fight to you.
Exactly.
Guile, he'll just like, I'm not exaggerating when I said that I spent like half the round during one of my fights just saying, okay, you know what? I'm just going to walk as far back as I can, opposite end of the screen, and I'm going to put the controller down. And I'm going to wait and see how long it takes for Guile to actually do something. And I, like, 30 or 40 seconds went by before Guile finally, like, approached me. Because the character's programmed just to sit and wait and draw you in so he can, like, instantly execute an attack against you that he doesn't have to charge.
Unless, of course, you choose Guile and try to do the same thing to him, in which case you have to allow your shit to charge and he starts whipping shit at you.
Exactly. Yeah. That really kind of sums it up. If you played Guile versus Guile against the computer, and for some reason he got aggressive and decided to engage you in a sonic boom off, you couldn't do it. You couldn't match it because he can throw them off.
You can, but you eventually will miss. You can, because it cuts like a half a second off each time, and it gets closer and closer and closer to your character before they meet and cancel each other out to where his will eventually hit you.
That's what I mean, because he can throw them without having to charge, whereas you're supposed to put about a second and a half. They say 2 seconds, but I think it's a little bit short.
And you can throw it and immediately start charging again. You can get that going pretty well if you're good at it, but not like the computer can.
And even worse than the sonic boom is the flash kick, because again, not only does he not have to charge, which involves, I repeat, holding down, which means the character ducks.
Should be ducking, and you can't anticipate it coming because you should be able to see him ducking, which in case, he's not doing, yeah.
Right. The computer can literally execute a move where he's supposed to hold down and duck at the drop of a hat. From a standing position, I've had him, like, back away from me, not just standing, but walking, and still execute the fucking flash kick. Just boom, out of nowhere. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, as if I haven't stressed it enough, fighting against Guile is cheap. And in looking this up, I just randomly Googled the term Guile is cheap. I see a lot of people talking about this in, like, one of the newer Street Fighters. I'm assuming Street Fighter 4. So even to this day, fuck Guile.
All right.
Well, you know what? But actually, before we move on, how did you enjoy using him? Because we haven't really talked about that.
I've always enjoyed using Guile. He's a good character to use, especially to get through the game. I don't know. He's a good character. He's good to be. He's fun to be. His moves are fun. His moves are very effective. So.
They are. Yeah. I feel he's a decent character. It looks like I got through 8 characters. So in other words, like all the regular Street Fighter characters before I got to the bosses. So I was able to clean up pretty much the entire roster with Guile. I feel that his moveset, I don't know if it's just based on the way the computer fights. I felt that I had to rely too often on his special moves. I felt like for some reason that I couldn't fight, just like bring the fight to the opponent as much as I would have liked. But that being the case, I thought that he was, a relatively good character to use. Probably one of the upper tier characters. Just a bitch to fight against, that's all.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, well that brings us to Chun-Li, huh?
Wow, I almost wonder if we went through the exact same roster, because yes, she's next on my list as well, Chun-Li.
All right. I, for one, have always adored Chun-Li. She's fantastic, and she only got better in this version of the game because she gets a fireball of her own, and she gets the wall jump, which is fantastic. So.
Now, while remembering that she's got the fireball in your version, they changed it for Super Street Fighter 2. The way you input it is different. So did you charge it, or was it like a Hadouken?
It was a Hadouken, but you had to do like a full half-circle Hadouken.
Interesting. Okay, for Super Street Fighter 2, it's a charge like the Sonic Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you wind up using the fireball a lot?
Oh, sure. And the wall kick more than anything. The wall leap is fantastic.
Where you rebound off the border of the screen?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's okay. I love that move. It's very handy. No one can back you into a corner because you just escape. So.
That's true. She's only one of 2 characters that can use it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you use her I can't remember what the name of it is. I guess just like her fast kick. Her I wish I knew the name of it. It's probably a simple name where she just kick. I
think it's like a Hayakaretsu Kayaku or something.
Oh, why
like
would
that?
I not remember that?
Hayakaretsu Kayaku or something like that. Yeah, that's
okay.
her crazy fast spinning. Yeah, that kick is fantastic. Why wouldn't you use that?
Oh, we always used to call it the lightning kick. That's what I'm remembering.
Sure.
Yeah, that is a good move.
Yeah.
For me, see, Chun-Li was one of my surprises. Like E Honda and Dalsim surprised me with how much I enjoyed them. I was not nearly as good with Chun-Li as I thought that I would have been. I mean, back in the day, I loved her too. I've always loved that character. There was a time back when we played the original Street Fighter 2 where she was my favorite character. I still like her as a character concept. I like her, her color palette. I like her selection of moves. But for some reason, I don't really know why. I felt that she had kind of like maybe awkward limb extension. I felt that she wasn't as, maybe it's because I came off of Dalsim not too long before I played as her, that I felt like I didn't have the range with her that I would have expected. It's kind of hard to describe.
Huh. See, I felt I was very effective with her. She was one of my easier characters to go through the game with for me personally.
That's what's strange about this.
I just have good timing with her or what. I enjoy being her, and I don't know. To me, again, kind of cheap, but with her lightning kick, just like E Honda's hand slap. When it comes to characters like Guile, if I can get them in the corner and get them caught up into that, I can actually breeze through them pretty quickly.
Yeah, Chun-Li's a character where if you get close, she can really fuck up the other guy.
And her leap off the wall comes in handy for that, because you can, get backed up with all the sonic booms, but you can leap forward enough to not be vulnerable to his lightning kick, but to not be in his big pattern of boomerangs coming at you either. So
sure. See, to me,
booms or whatever they're called.
Whatever, fucking cheap death missiles, whatever you want to call it. It works for me. Chun-Li, I would never say that she's not a great character. I remember being not only that I really liked her, but I was really, really good at her back in the day. I have no idea why. I just didn't do as well with her this time. So I will say that I was kind of disappointed playing as her this time, but that's my fault as opposed to her character's fault. I actually still really like her, but yeah, I couldn't pull it off this time. I sucked a lot with Chun-Li, and that surprised me.
Ah, well, you know.
It happens.
Well, that brings us to the bosses. The long-anticipated bosses. Do you remember being a kid and playing Street Fighter 2 and loving it and loving it and loving it and just being like, man, if I could only be Vega, that'd be so cool to have that claw. And, and then it came true. They were like, here, be the bosses. And it was fantastic. We couldn't wait to be the bosses. It was 4 extra characters to choose from, and obviously you felt like they were bosses, man. You were getting the superior character to be. They had stronger movesets and obviously better to be. And quite frankly, I don't really care for much of the bosses. I don't know. I don't know which one you want to start with, but you can choose the first boss we cover.
Well, what you said about wanting to be the bosses was entirely correct, because I remember EGM magazine, in I want to say probably the fall of '92 or maybe the summer of '93, somewhere around there. They published like a game. Do you remember the Game Genie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the cheat device. Yeah. Most people today probably would know it as like the game Shark or whatever, just like
Galoob.
It's such a fun name, Galoob. Yes, Galoob, manufacturer of the Game Genie. They had a code that EGM published that I think some random user found by fucking around with the Street Fighter 2, the original Street Fighter 2 for the Super NES, and it let you be the bosses. But it was really fucked up. Like the bosses were all like black silhouettes. They were all like messed up. It was ridiculous. They were like really crummy, and in addition to them looking bad, like you couldn't even really see them. And I think you picked them by like you had to pick Ryu, and it just so happened that if you held the button a certain way, you could dictate, okay, I'm going to be Sagat, I'm going to be M. Bison. It was really messed up how you could do this, because it was a hack. The game was not designed to let you do this.
Right.
So in addition to having,
didn't have a moveset or anything like that.
That's what I was just going to say next. Yes, they had moves, but instead of being the official moveset that they got, as far as how you input, like M. Bison, you do his Psycho Crusher / Flaming Torpedo by charging. In the glitched out Super Nintendo Game Genie version of M. Bison, you did a Hadouken to do his Flaming Torpedo move, and it sometimes would crash the game. So it was a total fuckery, but we loved it because, oh my god, you could be the bosses. That's how much we cared. It was just that cool. Yeah, that we were willing to accept a half-assed version like that. So now
should we do them in order?
I was going to say, now that we go ahead. Who is the first? Is that Balrog?
Balrog, or in Japan he was M. Bison, right?
Yes, he was. Yes, because of course
Mike
he was
Tyson?
very.
Mike Tyson. Yeah.
I was going to say
blatant ripoff.
Very distinct ripoff of Mike Tyson, and obviously they changed that so they wouldn't get sued.
I really enjoy his level. I love the Vegas level where everybody's out there and everybody's watching the street fight. It's kind of neat to, very bright and colorful and fun to look at.
It is a fun stage.
I don't care for being Balrog by any means. He sucks. It's.
Why does he suck?
In later, because his moves aren't fun. They're all punches. There's no kicks whatsoever.
True.
It's just cumbersome and awkward, and you can be good with him. It's not like it's impossible to get. I mean, obviously I played through the game with him. I was good enough to beat the game with him. He's not fun to be, in my opinion. His moves are very basic. He only has 3 or 4 moves, and they're all very similar to each other. So,
to my surprise, I disagree.
There you go.
Yeah. Balrog completely surprised me. I never ever gave a shit about him as a kid, which would probably explain why I don't really have any memories of being good with him or enjoying playing as him. But for some reason, I just like using him in this game. I picked him and it was okay, well here's, now it's time for Balrog. Let's see how fun this 20 minutes will be.
Right.
But the thing is, he's got his strong moves. Yes, they are all punches, naturally. I shouldn't say naturally. That assumes that, well, it should assume, I guess, because he's a boxer, so I guess it follows that he would only have punches, even though that is kind of bizarre for a fighting game.
Sure.
But they have a lot of range. In addition to having really good range, like some of his like his fierce punch, really, I mean, he just jumps forward and just really fucking hooks the character.
Yeah, it's very effective.
Yeah. He's got a good range. He's got like a lot of ferocity. He's a powerful fighter. He's to me, he's got the power of Zangief, but without having to get quite as close. He's kind of like an intermediary character to me. So
he comes in quickly and you can back off quickly too, and
That's true, yeah. I mean, playing against a human being, I don't think I do as well with Balrog, but against the computer, I actually got all the way through to. I have here that I got through 8 characters, and quote, I lost to Guile because Guile.
Now, on the flip side of the coin, how did you feel fighting Balrog?
He's in general, I think I think it's easily the easiest of the 4 bosses.
I don't know that I lost to him ever.
I think I may have lost a round here or there, probably with
Sure.
Zangief, but I don't think I ever lost a match to him. No, he's very easy. Yeah. The computer makes him very easy to anticipate.
Speak of losing a round here and there, one thing I completely forgot about this game, and it didn't happen till well after I was playing through it the other day, and just I'd already played through it with all the characters and I beat it, but I was just playing through again to see if there's any weird glitches or cheap things or whatever to talk about, and sure enough, this used to happen to me all the time, but for the very first time, I had a double knockout.
Oh, wow.
It's so cool to have a fucking fighting game where it comes down to the wire. And you're like, who's going to score that last little punch? And sure enough, you both hit each other, and you both the round's a wash. Nobody gets credit for that round. And I've never, that doesn't happen in Mortal Kombat. That doesn't happen in most fighting games that I'm aware of. So it's actually very cool that you can both beat the shit out of each other to the point, and then you both make contact, and it really does just, you tie that round and you play again. So, did you have any double knockouts throughout your experience?
Not that I remember. I don't remember going to a 4th round in this game.
Did you remember that existed?
Unconsciously, I probably would have, but hearing it now from you, it's like, oh, right, that was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as much as we played this game, it happened quite frequently, but it caught me off guard when it did happen. As a matter of fact, when it did happen and we both went, blah, 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 and, it fell back into our own, our own side of the screen, I was just waiting in anticipation to see which one of us scored that hit first. Who won this round, and sure enough, it went double knockout, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, I forgot about that. So
that's cool.
It was kind of a fun little surprise.
Did you bring it up with Balrog because it happened with the Balrog?
No, I just happened to glance at my notes and saw that.
Oh, okay. That's worth noting, though. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool because until you mentioned it just now a second ago, I was also thinking the same thing about Mortal Kombat. I thought, well, what happens in Mortal Kombat? I don't remember ever getting a double knockout in that game, so I guess they just don't. I guess they just automatically prioritize.
It chooses, I think it's kind of hard for both of you to hit each other at the exact same time in Mortal Kombat. I think one person always takes precedent against the other, whereas in this game, you do seem to hit each other quite frequently.
Yeah, that actually did happen a lot. You're right. In fact, there were many occasions in this game to where I would jump at a character with a kick or something, and they'd do something that would knock me out of the air, but we'd both fly back with an injury. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. In fact, now that I think about it, that aspect of what I just described, that actually did happen a lot with Balrog, because again, Balrog has to get really close to be able to land his blows. So while he is fierce and he does have really good range and really good just rushing forth type of attacks, people like Guile or like E Honda or whatever, could counter that, and they would get hit too, but they'd be able to knock me back and we both take damage.
Sure.
Yeah. So how was since you didn't really care for Balrog must be like your Zangief. You just didn't really have fun using
it.
He's just
boring. Exactly. He's boring to play to me. He's boring to play against to me. I just whatever. I like his level's great. I like his level. It's probably one of my second or third favorite levels in the game, actually, to aesthetically. So.
I'd have to, when we're done with actually going through the characters and the endings and so forth, I'd like to actually go through that the stages, because I haven't really picked out which one I'd like the best. I'd have to figure that out. That'll be interesting to determine. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I surprisingly dug Balrog. You probably unsurprisingly, I think most people probably don't care too much for him because he is kind of an average, basic, clunky character. But okay. There you go.
Well, let's move on.
Vega was another surprise. Very much.
I don't know what you're going to say now, but you used to adore Vega.
That's what I was just going to say. Very much like Chun-Li, Vega was always one of my absolute top favorites. My favorites growing up in this game were always Ryu, Chun-Li, and Vega. Those were I love those 3 characters. Vega, for some reason, just like Chun-Li, I can't put my finger on it. I just was not. I enjoyed using him, but I was not good at him.
I could not find my groove that I used to have with him for some reason.
That's a great way of putting it. You said you couldn't find your groove. What I was going to say was I didn't have a confidence when using him.
Sure.
Yeah. How did you did you go through your experience with him? Were you just did you lose a lot with him? Did you just find that
I did lose a lot. He was one of the tougher guys for me to play through the game with, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, he was incredibly frustrating with for just I don't know. It just seemed like people countered my rolling attacks and shit like that very easily. I don't know, moves like the rainbow suplex and stuff like that were kind of hard to pull off.
What the fuck is a rainbow suplex?
That thing where he grabs you and jumps up and slams you down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it was called.
I have a list of moves here from some sort of wiki I'm looking at, and it seems to give them awkward names compared to what I remember them. But whatever, fair enough.
Interesting.
They're descriptive enough to be accurate to the move they're describing. So
Sure.
yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't care for him. I don't know. It seemed like I always remembered his claw having a nice, good reach, it seemed. And to me, it just didn't seem to pay off anymore. I don't know.
I noticed the same thing when I was fighting. I believe it would have been against Bison, if not, whatever, one of the lesser characters. I remember that whenever I would approach, I would get in and what I thought was a good distance, try to hit them with the claw, like I'd use his fierce punch or whatever, and he would duck down and stick his hand out really far to hit the guy with the claw, but I still wound up getting hit at the same time, and often I would lose more damage.
Yeah. Yeah, he was incredibly hard to beat Balrog with for me, too. Or not Balrog, I'm sorry, M. Bison with. It was
yeah, same here. I had a hell of a time, fighting Bison with Vega.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He just, for me, if I could put any one a button on why I wasn't good with Vega, is that unlike like Ryu, Guile, maybe when I did use Bison, even Zangief, they had like at least a relatively reliable move to knock somebody out of the air. I couldn't like settle on that with Vega. I couldn't have anyone reliable like
only reliable moves I had to get people out of the air is if I lured them back into a corner where I could jump off the wall and do shit like that. But that was
I did a lot of jumping around with Vega.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, Vega's a character that I know that
you used to be phenomenal with him, man. You used to pick him all the time.
I remember liking him a lot. I was really good with him. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I was actually good with him. Oh, okay. I don't know what I did differently back then. I wish I do because,
Sure.
I just did not. I was disappointed because, as you said,
one of those characters that's trickier to use against an actual human opponent rather than a computer. Maybe that's just the difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I was disappointed. Vega and Chun-Li were my biggest disappointments in this game because I love them so much and just was not as good as I expected to be with either one of them.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Sagat.
Bob Saget. It's strange that they put him in this game.
I love Sagat. I love being Sagat. He, to me, is superior than Ryu and Ken. I enjoy Sagat when it comes to all the people that kind of have that moveset. He has the Tiger Knee Crush, and his Tiger Uppercut to me is one of the coolest moves in the game, just from the way his big, long, lanky body executes it. I don't know. I dig it.
I echo what you said about Sagat 100%. I had the exact same experience. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say about Sagat than Ken or Ryu, but
well, you bring up the knee, which is interesting because again, that's another move I didn't have in my copy in my mode. Yeah, so I had to rely on just purely the tiger.
I mean, he has the lower tiger.
He does.
Yeah,
he does,
which is awesome for catching people off guard in a pattern and shit. So.
It is awesome. However, I found myself using the standard standing Tiger Fireball more often, specifically because with Ryu and Ken, when they throw the Hadouken, because of their size, Sagat's a taller character, the tallest I think in the game. So when Ryu and Ken throw their Fireball, it lands usually around like mid-range, like chest range as they throw it. Like they throw it at about that range, so that's where it hits the opponent. With Sagat, since he's so tall, it's immensely satisfying to throw the regular standing Fireball and watch it just fucking knock the opponent right in the fucking face.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes like a Three Stooges sound effect, and they just fall backwards. Like that's so satisfying. In addition, his I don't know about Turbo Edition. They probably balanced it, but in Champion Edition, he's still kind of like. Well, obviously he's a boss, but they seem to program it that way. So his damage when he does the Tiger Uppercut is substantial. I mean, he does a huge amount of damage. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean that combined with the fireballs, combined with, as you said, his lanky legs, his good reach. Yeah. In addition to the fact that he's got a really good his Muay Thai. He's got like a really good standing.
And he looks fucking cool. His stance is cool. He's a cool character.
He's got a really good standing high kick that knocks characters out of the air very reliably. Sagat was I would say probably like right behind fucking Ryu is my favorite character in this game.
Exactly. Not only to me, leaps and bounds the best boss character to choose, and one of the best characters in the game for sure.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. Well, that brings us to M. Bison. the douchebag.
That douche. Do you remember the Street Fighter movie?
Fucking Raul Julia. How could you forget?
Oh, and he was so. I will go on a limb and say he was really good as M. Bison. I'm biased because I love Raul Julia. I think he was such a great actor. Do you remember this? He's in. I have to say it because I love it so much. It's kind of commonly known now on the internet what the best scene of that movie is and what the best line in that movie is. But I'll quickly relate it. In the movie, which is really pretty terrible,
where they choose like a Belgian guy to play the American.
Commonly known as the Muscles from Brussels. Yeah, let's get that dude to put an American flag. Yeah. Bison. I'm not even going to do a French accent. Fuck it. There's a scene in the movie where Bison has kidnapped Chun-Li. And his intent, it's kind of funny because, I don't know, it's just funny. M. Bison, he's this crazed warlord or whatever. He's kidnapped Chun-Li and he, like, figures that he's going to seduce her. So, like, he's got her in his, like, private quarters or whatever. And he's, like, kind of, like, slowly changing his clothes and putting on, like a really hot, like awesome smoking jacket. He's pouring some drinks. And as he does this, Chun-Li relates this really personal story about how she encountered Bison in her childhood. And she goes on this dramatic story about when I was just a little girl, you were nothing but a petty drug lord, and you came into my village and you caused all these problems, but you were a coward even then, and the people in town chased you out with nothing but pitchforks and machetes or whatever the hell, and you ran like a coward, yet at the same time you had one of your men execute my father as you ran, a coward at 1,000 paces, and she's telling this story as Bison again goes about his business, getting prepared to seduce her for a nice quiet evening of lovemaking or whatever. And he's taking in the story. He doesn't interrupt. He just lets her talk, and he kind of looks at her like, okay, all right, interesting. And when she's done telling the story, he says, and picture Raul Julia, his suave-ass Raul Julia saying this. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't remember any of this. And she's like, you don't remember? And he says the best line of, like, any movie ever. He says, for you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Such a fucking good line.
Yeah.
It's when I think of Bison.
A shitty movie.
I know. And
someone should just poach that line because no one will remember where it came from.
That's what's funny is that in the and I was one of like the 12 people who saw this in the theater back in 1994.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I know, right? Oh, I was excited to see it because I thought it would be good.
Nobody thought that.
In my delusional 16-year-old state, I just had the assumption that it would be actually something like on par with the games. Oh my God, was I incorrect? But nowadays, like that line has I'm actually kind of happy that other people, like in the theater, I loved it and I thought, oh, that was such a good line. It has now become like internet like phenomenon popular. Like sure. That's now been
like
fantastic line. Oh, it's such a good line.
Well crafted, well delivered, sure.
Yeah. Raul Julia's last cinematic performance, if I remember correctly. Yeah, very much so.
For people who don't know who Raul Julia is, he also plays in the Adams.
Gomez
Adams in the Adams Family movies, and
he was great in that too.
Sure.
Yeah, love Raul Julia, and that's who I think of when I think of M. Bison.
There you go.
He, man, you tell me about your experience.
Let's talk about fighting him against him first.
Oh God, you start.
Bitch. He's just a bitch. I mean, he's the final boss, so he ought to be. I shouldn't complain and cry. It's not like he's unbeatable. He's just very cheap and very frustrating. His moves like supersede everything you try to do. His jumping head stomps, his fucking sliding weird sweeping kicks, his crazy spiraling flame maneuvers, just all, again, like Guile, executed on a whim when it's the computer doing it. Not nearly as easy to pull off when you're being him. Yeah. I mean, good. The final boss should be hard, and I shouldn't complain like a bitch, I'll be honest. He's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to be satisfied when you do beat him, and you are. I don't know. I guess that's how I feel about Bison. I don't really care to beat him. I didn't think he was that fun. I don't really care for his move. He's hard. It's hard to pull off his moves and get a pattern down. For me, anyways. I didn't really enjoy playing as M. Bison. I don't know. Not very satisfying to be able to pick him, in my opinion. Very hard to beat, in my opinion. With every character I played through, he was tough for me to beat with everybody, pretty much. except for Ken and Ryu, which I kind of, like I said, I have that pattern down where I could just use the hard kick, and kind of those were the only two guys where he wasn't terribly difficult for me. But for the rest of the game, yeah, he was pretty hard for me to beat with just about everybody.
Well, the thing you said that really stands out to me the most out of all the things you said, which I agree with, you said that his moves supersede your own. If there was any one consistent pattern that I noticed that pissed me off, it was that. I noticed that with just about any character that I chose, it seemed I could throw out whatever, like a kick, and not only would the computer anticipate down to, of course, the second I press the button and magically throw out a kick at the identical moment that I did. In addition, his leg, which is so long, he's a lanky ass character.
Yeah.
His move would always take precedence over mine. I would press he'd be walking backwards. I'd press a button to attack from 3 feet away. Oh, lo and behold, he threw out his foot. I got hurt. So it's like the game punishes you for trying to fight. So,
yeah.
Yes, it was, I mean, you're right. We've talked before about how modern gamers, in our opinion, probably don't really realize how tough gaming was when you were a kid in the 80s and the 90s. Games were just, that's how they beat you. The last level, the last boss, they were fucking cheap.
Yeah,
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, just cheap.
Yeah, relentless, yeah.
Relentless, yes. They fought with, again, prescience. They had supernatural intelligence and ability, and yes, it is an obstacle to overcome, but like when you're fighting the guy for like the 5th, 6th, 7th time because you really want to see a character's ending or what have you, you're devoted to a podcast or whatever, it really kind of starts to suck after the 5th or 6th time.
Yeah.
You're watching your character get beat up, and it's like, there were times, I'll put it this way, there were times when I was fighting Bison where, like Guile, but less like an experiment, more out of actual frustration, I'd be like just putting the controller down. I'd be like, okay, fuck it, I'm half dead, the match just started, fuck it, I'm gonna put the controller down and just watch you beat me. Go ahead, I'll wait. Because it's fucking frustrating. So, yeah, sure. I had the same experience. As I look through my notes, I don't really see, I did okay against him with Ryu and Sagat. I don't think I'd beat him the first time with either of those characters. I didn't write that down. I'm assuming I didn't.
Right.
So even though I had the easiest time with those characters, I still had to fight him a couple times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, understandable.
And again, there are going to be players who are like tournament level experts. They've played this game for hours and hours. They know their way
back
around.
when I was a kid in the day, I had him down. I could go through and beat him too. Again, I haven't played this lots and lots and lots of times recently, like I did when this game was the game I was playing at the time. So.
Yeah, again, between the two of us, it's an average of about a decade since we've played this.
Sure.
So, you're going to forget patterns, you're going to forget, tricks that work. So, basically coming at it for, not the first time, but the first time in a while, you're trying to see what works, and it's really difficult to find anything that reliably works against Bison. It's just really kind of luck, in my case at least.
All right, well, now how did you like to be Bison? Did you enjoy playing as Bison, or?
When I was a kid, I liked him a lot more. When I first got Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I rushed to play Bison because I always thought he was cool. I liked his moves.
Why wouldn't you want to? Yeah, he's neat looking.
Yeah. He's the final boss. He's like the evil warlord. Yeah, so of course.
I think he's a neat looking character. He's very imposing. He's very big. He's got this neat, uniform. He does come across as an evil drug lord kind of dictator kind of character.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always liked the character. I still do. I still like his moves, but again, I wish I had a better explanation. It's the Chun-Li / Vega syndrome. I used to be really, really good at him. This time, while I enjoyed playing him, I just did not do very well. I lost, to Ken with M. Bison. He was the second character. Sure. I played M. Bison, and I whipped, right through Zangief, because, Zangief sucks, and you know it. And then I'd get to Ken, and Ken would just jump over my head and kick me, and then cross, he'd sweep me from behind, and I'm sitting here trying to do the flaming torpedo move, and he blocks it and dragon punches me out of it, and it's what the fuck?
Sure.
Why?
Yeah, supersedes that move. That would never happen if the computer was M. Bison, that's for sure.
That never did for me. I can speak for that.
Well, now we've played M. Bison, we've beat M. Bison. Let's talk about some of the endings.
Well, let's go through them. You want to just throw out a name and we'll discuss their ending?
All right, Ryu.
Cliche, but interesting enough. He's the nomadic warrior. He's not interested in winning the tournament. He just wants to prove himself, and it's okay.
He's not even on the podium because he's in it for the fight and not in it for all the glory. However, for some odd reason, when it cuts back to the podium, he's there.
Oh, does it? I never
Yeah.
paid enough attention. That's so he comes back.
Exactly. I know he's not on the podium. You wonder why. Hey, where's my guy? And it cuts to him like walking off into the sunset, and he's like he delivers the speech. I'm in it for the fight. I'm in it for the challenge. I don't care about the accolades, kind of a thing. And then sure enough, when it cuts back, he's on the podium. Like fuck it,
I like to think that he forgot. He was like, oh shit, the trophy.
Exactly. Yeah, he goes back and.
What's great is that I think that's the game's way of just like showing like a little bonus, like non-canon, like here you go, here's your character on the podium, not related to the ending, but in Ryu's case, that's great. That's funny. I did not notice that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what did you think?
All of the endings basically are just blatantly stereotypical and racist. Very amusing, actually.
Well, before we go on to him, what did you think of Ryu's ending? Did you like it?
It was neat looking, but I just thought it was funny that it just contradicted itself. It was the whole point of its ending was to say how he didn't care and want to be there. Then it cuts right back to him on the podium, which is just awesome. Ironic and stupid. Ken's ending, his ending's uneventful. He some chick broad shows up and he marries her or whatever.
Some chick broad? Oh man, that's so terrible. That's his fiance, Elisa or Eliza.
Yeah, Elisa's fiance shows up. They don't even bother like cutting to a wedding scene. All they do is morph his gi into a tuxedo, and then you just assume that she plays like wedding bell music.
That's what I was going to say, the exact same thing. As a kid, I remember thinking that it was kind of neat that one of the characters got married. It was like, oh, okay, that's an event. But yeah, like as I watched the ending play out, it's literally just like she runs up to him and she's like, oh, Ken. And like he's like, oh, like Elisa or whatever her name is.
Right.
And yeah, as you said, it literally shows just a still image of him holding her in his combat outfit, and then just like click, and suddenly he's in his wedding outfit, and they play the wedding music, and that's it. It's like, yeah, they approached each other, and I guess they got married. Okay, well, moving on.
All right.
Yeah, terrible.
E Honda.
E-Honda's was it was kind of like I hesitate to use the word in depth because all the endings are shallow and short.
Sure.
His at least gave you like a few different little screens that tells kind of a story.
But then it just kind of turned into a fat joke. It was just like he's like, oh, then I've always got food. He just shows him eating. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, every character in this game has their own motives for entering the tournament. Ryu, I guess we'll cover him as we go along. Ryu, his whole point of entering the tournament was whatever to prove himself. Ken basically just went there because Ryu said, hey, come to this tournament with me. E Honda, he goes to the tournament to prove that sumo wrestling is a serious sport and should be considered as such. So when he wins, he basically says to his students, he's like, hey, there you go, that's how to prove our strength, and it's all about peace and harmony, and sumo is great. And by the way, I'm also going to continue eating because I'm a fat fuck.
Exactly, it's just a big fat bastard.
I'm a sumo, so of course I'm fat. Ha ha. Yeah, it was okay. As far as endings go, like it was lame because I think most of them are, but it was whatever. It was okay, I guess.
And then Chun-Li's is amusing to me.
Oh yeah, Chun-Li's whole purpose of entering the tournament is she wants to find, as I described in the movie, she wants to find out who killed
her father's death.
Sure. And she
succeeds in doing so.
And then she takes off her.
And then it's time to fuck. She just fucking wants to whore around. She immediately is like, now that I've avenged my father, I can go back to being a fucking skeezy bitch. She just whips her fucking clothes off and she's ready to fucking whore around. She just fucks everything in sight is what I imagine happens.
Oh my goodness. They draw her as a very, very beautiful girl. I mean, her character arc, she's very hot. But as far as the actual context, what I have here in my notes is she lays her father to rest, then goes back to being, and this is a direct quote from the game, a young single girl.
Right. As you see clothes flying to the background. It's just like literally, she's like, all right, get rid of these, put on my fucking slutty bar clothes, and go get some fucking 9 dicks. And just fucking.
Oh man!
Yeah, I never expected Chun-Li to be such a dirty girl. I don't know.
It could be interpreted that she's just like going out to like have fun and like I mean, she spent her whole life like waiting for revenge. Now she can actually have like a teenage, like a normal teenage, life. But
she's a dirty whore.
Well, see. I would argue that I guess that's probably true of most teenagers, is that they're dirty whores, both male and female. I mean, so yeah.
And now that her father's not around to judge her, I mean, she's making porn, bukkake porn, all kinds of shit.
Oh, she is. She's taking it all in every hole. That's for sure.
So that was her inevitable demise.
Again, like what was true of most endings, I would describe it as stupid but amusing enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Blanca, I thought was pretty uneventful. His mother finds him.
Yeah,
Big hugs from Mama.
I don't know what your character, not character art, but the cutscene art, I think was probably the same as mine. Oh, well, I guess I'll get there in a second. Blanca's reason for entering the tournament is like kind of vague. It's like he's just a wild man in the woods, and one day he just kind of comes out and says, "Hey, I want to like fight people," and they're like, "Okay, let's challenge this beast or whatever." And at the end of the game, yeah, he beats M. Bison, and a woman just runs up on screen, and I guess she's been following his progress throughout the tournament and waiting for this moment, and she runs out and says, "Hey, you're my son," and he says, "Why would you be?" Why would you be my mother? Who are you? And she says, that anklet you've got on your foot, I gave that to you before you like crashed in a plane.
Because anybody couldn't have pointed at an anklet and said that.
Right. Well, but Blanca's a beast and he's dumb, so he just accepts it like immediately.
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, what if he was like, "You did not. I bought the anklet at the mart like last week." It was like
my Brazil stage. Like, there's like a little there's like a dealer there, like in the background. He sells these things. Go back. I'll show you. I bought this thing like 2 days ago. You fucking bitch.
That was a pretty uneventful.
I thought it was kind of cute. I mean, I liked it when I was a kid. It was like, oh, that's kind of neat. He gets
very colorful and neat, like the bright sunburst behind them when they're hugging against his like green skin and orange fur. It was kind of neat looking, but.
It's, I don't know, as far as character resolution, I'll put it this way. He gets a lot more of closure than half the damn characters in the game do, so that's at least something. Sure. Yeah. Like Dalsim, let's contrast that with Dalsim. He literally, he wins the tournament, goes home, and his son says, "Hey, who's that picture up on the wall, Dad?" And Dalsim says, "That was me in a former life." The end.
Exactly. Well, no, it's not just that he rides an elephant back.
Yeah, that's something, I guess.
And then the caricatures of them, it just looks incredibly offensively racist.
They do.
Wow. I was just like, wow. Wow. All right.
They seem to really not give a fuck about Dalsim's ending at all. They just kind of scribble out oh my god.
Exactly. Zangief, I enjoyed Zangief's ending.
To this day, and always has been the case, believe it or not, Zangief was the first character I ever beat any Street Fighter game with, period. Wow. That's not because I went through the whole game with him, but when I first got the game for my birthday back in 1992, I distinctly remember playing in the living room with my family watching, thinking it was a cool game, which of course it was. And I got to Bison with whoever I was, probably Ryu, and I lost and decided, I'll try, I don't know, Zangief. And I wound up somehow beating Bison with him. So what I was going to say is, his ending was the first one I ever saw, and to this day, it is leaps and bounds my favorite fucking ending.
Oh my god, fucking Gorbachev comes out, congratulates him. And just, and
then they dance. They do a Russian dance.
I approve in the name of Mother Russia. Let us dance. And then they do the silly little Russian dance for a while. Again, blatantly stereotypical and ethnically racist.
It's the dumbest shit. Yeah, you're right. He literally says, like Zangief, you brought pride to the country. And, Zangief says, thank you, Mr. President. And then they fucking dance.
It's so stupid. I'm surprised they didn't eat a bowl of borscht afterwards. It's just ridiculous.
Oh, my God. Ridiculous, but awesome. I love that ending.
Yeah, I do too. It was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then cut to my favorite ending, where I like to create my own little scenario of what happened. Guile's ending. Okay. Yeah. Basically, Guile is on a quest. He must kill M. Bison to exact his revenge.
Because Bison killed his former commander Charlie back in the day.
Right, and you know what? Apparently Charlie is so important, he decides, I'm going to abandon my wife and kid, become an absentee father, make it my lifelong quest to hunt down M. Bison and kill him. And right before he kills the one thing he left his wife and child for. His wife and child track him down feverishly, come running up, and put an abrupt halt to that. So never mind that he's been an absentee father, probably hasn't paid child support in how many fucking years, fucking, left his wife. They have such this adoring admiration for him that all they can do is they lure him back home, stop him from completing the reason he abandoned them to begin with, just so they can adoringly love him, stare at him and be like, oh, he doesn't even recognize his fucking daughter. That's how he does. As a matter of fact, how long is this fucking tournament? To where he doesn't even recognize his fucking daughter.
He literally says, "Amy, is that you?"
It's so ridiculously stupid. It's just that they just love this guy. He abandoned you. He'll do it again.
They specifically say, and I quote, "Daddy, we still love you."
I know, and they forgive him like this unadulterated fucking
bastard.
Fuck Guile in every way, man. He's such a piece of shit.
Throughout the game, his taunt against his defeated opponents is to go home and become a family man, and that's what he winds up doing.
Yeah.
They even show him in a sweater in the little cutscene. They actually show him in a sweater. He's got like a little cute puppy dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, fucking silliness.
That's a codependent enabling relationship. That's very unhealthy.
Exactly.
That whole
he's going to show up long enough for them to act like he doesn't owe all that back child support, and he's going to just take off again. He's going to empty their bank account and fucking spend their child fund on fucking crack. And just that fucker.
Yeah, and you know what's great too is since he let Bison live, Bison's like, well, that was fucking stupid. So
yeah,
now
Bison's off selling drugs again, killing more poor Asian girls' parents, and just.
Oh man, that's great. That whole thing's great.
And then the boss's endings, I don't even want to report on them because they were so blatant.
I'm sorry, did we catch everybody? We did already, didn't we?
Yeah.
We got Ryu, Ken, Zangief. Oh wow, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought we missed somebody. Wow.
I don't even. They were so lazy with the bosses. They didn't even bother creating. They're like, oh, you can be the bosses, but we're not going to animate any sort of fucking ending for you.
They do get an animated ending, but they're all clearly M. Bison's ending because it shows like an army of shock troopers at the bottom of the screen marching monks.
All they do is they rotate whoever's on top. They shows all four of their heads for all four of their things. They have their own little story and all. But quite frankly, they were so lazy about going about it that I didn't even care about any of their stories.
Well, I actually wrote them down so we can actually cover them. Balrog first. Yeah, his story is basically, and I paraphrase, but it's basically, all right, yeah, I won the tournament. This goes to show that sometimes, like having good punching power can like save the world or something to that extent. He says I rose from then they say this word specifically. He says I rose from the ghetto and now I've conquered it all.
Again, more stereotypically blatantly racist fucking.
Now, to be fair, Mike Tyson himself was in fact, plucked from the ghetto by Customato and turned into for a minute at least a normal human being. So maybe they were going off of that since he was clearly a character based on Tyson, but I think that's probably giving more credit than is deserved.
Right.
Yeah. So Bison.
Given the track record of the blatant racist stereotypes of every other character in the game, I'm going to have to imagine they just.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Vega's ending I liked. I have to admit, Vega
because he killed all the ugly people and only spares the beautiful people.
He literally says only the beautiful deserve to win, and he refers to himself as a gorgeous hunk of a man. And then he says,
"See, that deserved its own animation." The whole thing.
It did. He actually, I don't know if this is specific. I've got it in quotes. I don't know if this is verbatim. I'm going to assume it is. He says, "The ugly deserve no mercy, so I, in capital letters, destroyed them all!"
I destroyed the ugly.
Oh, that's good. That's just so over the top, ridiculous, bold. I have to enjoy it. That was fun. Sagat basically calls out Ryu and says, hey, it turns out, where's Ryu? It turns out that I won the tournament. I got my revenge over you from Street Fighter 1. I'm the best fighter of them all. I'm going to overcome challenges and continue to fight to be the best, so on and so forth.
He's poignant with his goals,
I suppose
he's a very goal-orientated boss.
There you go.
He keeps his eyes on the prize. He focuses. He breaks down each task he needs to achieve his goals, and he, carries them out accordingly. I can't hold that against the man.
He knows how to prioritize properly.
There you go. Yeah. That's why he finds himself on where he is today.
I think so. There you go. That's all about success. Bison, it says that Bison stands with cape flowing as his armies rise, bringing death and destruction to all who stand in his way. And he says, thanks to you, the world is mine. That's some bold shit. I like.
There you go.
That's the ending that fits the most with, again, at the bottom of the screen. Like, you hear this, like, fascist marching music.
Yeah, the
all these...
like type, yeah.
Yeah, and again, as it plays, you have this, like, army of marching soldiers in flames at the bottom of the screen.
Right.
It's like, Jesus Christ, okay, that's pretty over the top. So, yeah, I dug it. I mean, again, they're bad because they don't have cutscenes or anything, but I thought that they were kind of fun.
Yeah, the stories are fun.
I think so. What out of the endings? I like ranking things. Out of the endings, which one was your favorite and least favorite? Well, I guess Zangief we already figured.
My favorite's Zangief. Otherwise, if you fill in the read between the lines and fill in the blanks with my whole synopsis on what really went down with Guile, I guess Giles.
There's a whole movie to be made out of that.
Sure. Or at least a Mori episode.
Oh, true, yeah.
Guile, you are not the father.
I fucking knew it.
Exactly.
She's weeping as he jumps in the face. I told you, bitch. I told you.
He goes all Chris Benoit on them and.
Oh, that's terrible.
Okay.
Oh, we went to a dark place.
For those of you who don't know what Chris Benoit did.
Oh, they know.
Okay.
But go ahead. Yeah, it's a fun story.
You know, he's a good guy.
Yes, look him up. You'll have fun.
Yeah.
The stages, real quick. You said that which one was your favorite stage?
I like the Dalsim stage. I found it aesthetically appealing. I like the whole Hindu setup of it all. I thought it was neat.
Okay. Do you have a least favorite stage? One that just
Yeah, maybe the shipyard. A little boring.
Oh, Ken's stage. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty bland.
It's not like a terrible. None of them are terrible. They're all got a lot going on. I mean, they're all very stock and like statically animated. But aside from that, it's.
Well, at the time though, they were actually very colorful.
Oh yeah, and they're still very colorful.
Sure.
I like most of them for some reason or another. Blanca stage is actually very neat to look at. Balrog stage is neat. Vega stage is neat because it's got the cage and all that. I don't know. All of them have their own charm, I guess. All of them are pretty cool.
Did any particular stage music stand out? Any of the themes, the character themes?
Not terribly.
No, huh? I'm surprised.
Yeah, nothing that really, nothing I would be like, oh, that's a great song. Nothing terribly for me.
Oh, okay, actually, because Vega's music and Chun-Li's music actually stand out to me as really good tunes. I've always liked those two in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about any of the music in the game, so I guess I have that much to say for the music. Just
kind of blends, just kind of
yeah,
back.
I guess I don't focus on the music so much. I focus more on the sound effects and the fighting and the actual match going on, I guess.
That's understandable. I mean, to me, for some reason, the music tends to stand out, but I mean, I can understand why it would, just blend for somebody.
Do you have any like animations that you dug? Like, I really like Blanca when he gets punched and his eyes bug out and his.
Doesn't he stick out his tongue too?
Yeah, and he crunches forward all crazy. He kind of looks like a little ghoul. I don't know.
I like that when you fight characters, sometimes when you punch them in just the right way, they punch over and vomit. Like yeah. And that's especially, I don't know why, I guess because it's a woman and she's petite and dainty, but doing that to Chun-Li and seeing barf come out of her mouth, that's just, I don't know, that's fun.
That is pretty amusing, yeah.
It's ridiculous. So, yeah, it's silly. It's just like a cute little character.
Is there a rhyme or reason as to when you stun somebody, why sometimes it's birds and sometimes it's stars?
That's funny that you mentioned that. I'm so used to seeing just the general stun animation that I never really stopped to think which one was I didn't differentiate which one was happening at the time. That's interesting.
It seemed random. It made me wonder if one lasted longer, if there was any difference, if it depended on what character you were using. I didn't see any rhyme or reason to any of that, but I did notice that sometimes it's stars, sometimes it's birds. So
my guess is going to be random, but that is just a guess. I actually couldn't really say.
Sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know that fatalities in Mortal Kombat came about specifically because of stuff like that. Ed Boon said that, when you're playing games like Street Fighter and you knock a person down, you hit them with a few strong attacks or whatever, and you get those, their stars and they're dizzy. He says it's so satisfying to, get a free hit. But he says when that happens to you, that's like the most irritating fucking thing. I'll just stand here helplessly as you just like destroy me. Sure. So he said, so in response to that, we took that concept and moved it to the end of the fight. So there's fatalities, yeah.
Yeah, unless, of course, you let them pick Sub-Zero, in which case you gave that to them.
That's true. That's actually true. Yeah, instant, free hit at any point.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, fuckers.
Well, I don't know. I don't have much more to say about Street Fighter 2, do you?
I actually have one question. I have one specific question.
What's that?
if there's who out of all the characters in the game, I'm not talking about their move sets or how fun they were to use. I'm talking of like from a design standpoint, just a general aesthetic. Is there any one character that stands out to you as a favorite? And again, that's not gameplay wise. We're talking character design.
Chun-Li.
Interesting. Okay, she's great. She's great. She's do you remember in
everything about her? She's fun. She's bubbly. She's neat. She's I mean, just as a kid, she's a sexy character. I
was going to ask about that. In junior high, do you remember the days when everybody would like try to do the moves to look at her panties?
Sure, of course. I mean, and even now and then you see people dressed in cosplay. It's always fun to see the Chun-Li girl that did it well.
They're always hot.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny that actually in doing some of the research for this episode, when I was reading about the game, the sound designer, the person who did the music and all that for the game, was a woman. It obviously is still a woman, and she said, I can't remember what brought this on, but she was talking to the actual producer of the game, whose name eludes me. I mentioned it earlier in the show, and he said something. She said, "Why are Chun-Li's thighs so thick?" And she said that the producer kind of went on like this tangent about how wonderful they are and how everybody loves thick thighs, and she said, "Yeah, I'm sitting here hearing this guy go on about his fetish, and it was like, does every guy think like that? Like, I'm a woman, and maybe like that just doesn't make sense to me, but I wonder if everybody feels that way." So it's funny to me to think that this lone female designer on the crew, yeah, she says she literally like asked the guy, and he just like went on this like this big epic rant about how great.
I always just assumed that was her leg strength for her flash kick or whatever, her.
Exactly, I kind of thought the same.
Her legging kick, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's got strong legs because she uses them to fight.
Did you ever see that viral video where there was a guy breakdancing in a mall somewhere, and a little baby goes wandering out, and as he's doing like some kind of spinning backflip, his leg makes contact with the baby, that literally the baby gets kicked so hard with so much blunt force that the baby kind of like flips like all the way and falls and hits the ground, and it's like, ooh, you feel terrible. And it's just like, oh, shit, you see it coming and you hope it don't happen, and sure enough, it did happen.
And then you laugh?
Yeah, because you find out the baby's okay and everything. But anyways.
No, that's terrible. That's terrible.
It is terrible. It is terrible. However, somebody thought they'd make it even more terrible and totally set Street Fighter sound effects to it.
Oh, I've seen shit like that, yeah.
They were like, fight! And then they like went off and then showed this thing, and when he kicks the baby, it gave it Chun-Li's like dying sound effect.
Oh, man.
Incredibly funny.
Such a taste. I saw something very similar about 3 years ago. There was an incident, I don't remember where, but I'm sure a little bit of Googling would reveal it. There was a kindly old bus driver in like, I don't know, like some really bad neighborhood of like Chicago or something like that. Just this friendly old, just like 60-year-old man driving a bus. And this crazy young, loudmouth ass woman gets on the bus, doesn't want to pay the whatever, I keep wanting to say fine tax. That's obviously not it. The fucking
the bus fare.
The fare, thank you, the fare. And she just like gets on the bus and she's just yapping on her phone, and he's just like, you got to pay your fee. I did fare. You got to pay your fare just like everybody else. She gets in his face. She's bitching about how she's not going to, or she says that she did when clearly she didn't. And point being, he starts to drive away, probably trying to think, oh, how do I resolve the situation. And she eventually, he's still arguing with her about this, and she eventually reaches over and starts like smacking him while he's driving the fucking bus. And finally, it's, I don't necessarily advocate violence against women, but this woman is just, she's smacking the hell out of him while he's trying to drive a fucking city bus.
Yeah, there's other people's lives at stake,
Very much so, yes. She's just ranting like an obnoxious, just terrible fucking person. He finally stops the bus, and this is where like the footage like really gets interesting. This is all over the internet. He gets up and he says, "You gonna act like a man? I'm gonna treat you like a man." He fucking uppercuts the fuck out of her. He fucking belts her like dead. And it's amazing because, I mean, maybe he shouldn't have taken it quite that far, but I mean, he really fucking stood up for himself. And again, he says, you gonna act like a man, I'm gonna treat you like a man. Point being, somebody on the internet put that to Street Fighter sound effects. So that's like totally, like they actually put like, I think they actually even had him say like, "Tiger, uppercut." Nice. yeah, it's terrible but funny.
I don't care. I've laughed at way worse shit than that.
Well, which is so. Before we go on, I just wanted to throw in really quick. My favorite character, I was surprised. As far as from a character design standpoint, I really, really, playing through it again this time, I really came to appreciate Dalsim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's very neat looking.
He's such a unique character. I just think as far as, like, when you look at Street Fighter and you think, like, there's all these different fighting styles, it's like Bloodsport. It's like, there's all these different, disciplines, different characters. Dalsim stands out as just, like, so just unique and creative. I just really dig the hell out of the character. Chun-Li's great too for all the reasons you mentioned, but like Dalsim to me, he's just like, if I had a figure of any of these characters, I'd probably like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dalsim's fine. Yeah, he's very neat looking. Yeah, the
Yeah.
concept of him, you know.
He's different. Chun-Li's the hottest, but he's different.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. There we have it. Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
A lot
Super
of good
Nintendo.
memories. A lot of good memories.
Great game.
How great? How would you score this game?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I have to give it a solid 9.
It's really crunch time now. I've been waffling about this all day. I wanted to give it a 9. In my youth, I would have given it, a solid 10. As an adult, I understand its flaws better now than I did as a kid. I want to give it a 9, but some of the cheapness, like, gaming has gotten a little bit more advanced to where, like, balance in modern fighting games is better. Like, you play a game like Mortal Kombat 9, you play a game like, Tekken or something like that.
You gotta try to remember your experience playing it against other people, though, as well.
That's true. That's difficult then to actually give it a proper score because I didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what? For the amount of fun that I had with this game throughout my life, for how important and how impactful it was, not just for how much I enjoyed it for this particular sit-through, I think in all objectivity, I do probably have to agree and give it a 9.
Because you got to also remember, this is pretty much, this is a belated version of the game where they tightened it up, but for the most part, this is the first game of its kind, of this era of fighting games, that every other fighting game kind of modeled itself after.
Oh, the Street Fighter series was landmark. That's not hyperbole.
They just knocked it out of the fucking park for what they were doing.
And this is, I would argue, some people prefer Super Street Fighter 2, and I think that there's stuff in favor of that.
Because there's neat new characters in that game that are very cool. I think that's why.
Yeah. New characters, some new moves. There's a bit more balance.
And they don't really take anything away from the game. They only add to it, which is why I could see arguing that one is better.
Sure. But as far as at least I remember how back in the day it was, and some people would probably say still is, I would say arguably the best version of Street Fighter on any console short of the arcade. So, all things considered, I think it's probably, it probably does deserve a 9.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
That brings us to the Game Selector 64,000.5.
The Game Selector 82. I love it.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull the lever on this, and we'll see what we are playing for our next episode.
You go for it.
All right. Here we go.
Interesting, this one.
Yeah. Have you played this game? I have not.
I have played this one many, many times. You've never played it at all, huh? You've never played it once.
Never played King's Bounty for the
King's
Sega
Bounty?
Genesis.
Yeah, for the Sega Genesis, 1990. I want to say 2. I'll have that information for us next time. I think about 92.
Okay.
Yeah.
King's Bounty, I'm interested. What kind of game is it since you have played it? I'm not too familiar with it.
Well, the game is basically generally an overworld, like free-roaming, traversable landscape type of exploration game. However, it's got a lot of battling, and the battles are turn-based. They're turn-based tactical game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds fun.
It's different. It's different from any of the stuff that we've played yet, and it's a personal favorite of mine. I don't want to sell it too hard because the last time I did that, we had The Secret of Monkey Island.
Well,
I don't want that experience again.
That's what it is. It is what it is. We're going to have these experiences. You'll have those experiences too, I'm sure. So, well, there you have it. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Next week we will be playing King's Bounty. We would like to ask you to go on our Facebook page, like our page, the Contra Code. It's a very active Facebook page. Lots of things happening. There's going to be a giveaway coming up very soon. So go like our page and keep an eye open for that. Also, we have what's getting to be a bigger and larger, very active forum. You can find us at thecontracode.proboards.com. And that is a place where we talk about the episodes coming up, to talk about the episodes past, talk about games we are playing, nostalgia, pictures, toys, anything you really want to talk about, there's room to talk about it on there. It's your best way to become an interactive part of the Contra Code podcast. Make suggestions, talk along, play along with the game of the week. It's very interactive, very fun. We're on there with a lot of very nice people, and it's a very good time. If you'd like to reach us via email, you can reach us at thecontracodepodcast contrapod@gmail.com. And you can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, on Podomatic, or you can wait and listen to us on the Contra Code podcast on YouTube. Is there anything else you have to add?
No, I think you covered that all very well.
All right. Well, it's been fun. Good talking to you. Good playing this game. Had a great time.
Yeah, definitely.
And we will see you next time. Howard Beware saying goodbye, good night, have a nice day. Arrivederci.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.